Cold at the touch, dead in the eyes, no signs of life no more. I put your love under the knife. Leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. A crying dove may never fly. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh. 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 It's black and white. Just let me go, it's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Just let me go, it's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh. 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 It's black and white. Black and white.
Sometimes when you're here, I can't feel no doubts, 'cause you keep me where the stars are found. It doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really matter, 'cause I feel so free now. It doesn't really matter.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Daytona. We're in the Sunshine State for this fifth round of the season. This is the NXTGEN Racing MX-5 Cup, and what a season it's been so far, and it's not ending anytime soon. Welcome to the Daytona International Speedway, home of the Daytona 500, home of the Daytona 24 Hours, one of the most prestigious tracks in the world, hosting the most prestigious races in the world. And tonight, it hosts this very prestigious race. I'm joined alongside me by Paul Walsh of TX141. Paul, how are you this evening?
Oh, I'm doing great, thank you, Alex. I'm very excited once again for a fantastic round of racing, and what a venue for us to go racing in the MX-5s. I mean, this circuit associated with much faster cars typically, but if my real-world knowledge serves me correctly, there have been some MX-5 races around Daytona in the past, and they've been very tight. I can only imagine that will be replicated here today on iRacing.
Absolutely. The racing so far this season has been thrilling, dramatic, and it's been non-stop action all the way through the season. We haven't been able to keep our eyes off it so far, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. But here on this track, legendary in its own right, it's one of the biggest tracks in the world. It's up there with Spa, Monaco, Le Mans, and the great mammoths of motorsport. And in a very, very nice part of the world, especially 50 miles northeast of Orlando and 250 miles north of Miami. The Sunshine State of Florida is our host today. So what about the championship itself that we come into the fifth round of the season so far? Well, this championship, very, very exciting so far. So we'll show you the pro category championship standings coming into tonight. It is Adam Delmont who takes the lead in the championship with the absent Mikey Doble down in third place now, who was absent from the Montreal round last week. Lee Holmes slots in the middle of the two of them, but only 9 points between the top three as we go into tonight's round. Our league host Jamie Dory is in fourth in the championship. The very fast Deegan Fairclough is in fifth position, but let's see if his luck changes as the rounds go by. Nick Clibbens in sixth position, followed by Pete Newman, Ben Bennyworth in eighth, and Sam Smith in ninth, and Ollie Peters cracks into the top 10 with a good round for him last time out at Montreal. And Paul will show you through the Pro-Am standings coming into tonight.
Looking at the Pro-Am standings, it is the case of Lee Horne currently leading on 286 points, 20 clear of Wayne Douglas, the Douglas Motorsport driver there, giving a hot pursuit to NXTGEN Racing Orange driver, and only a further 11 points down in P3 in the Pro-Ams. It is the Triple P Racing driver of Aaron Thompson. Craig Cockrell and Nigel Stott completing the top 5, with then Liam Silkstone on 222 points in P6, only 3 points off of the top 5 right now, and indeed that hunt to be in the top 5 ever intensifying. Glenn Humberstone in P7, followed by John Burnham in P8, Lewis Kent in P9, who we did see have a strong start to the season, and whilst that has fallen by the wayside going towards the end of this first half of the season, you can imagine the BT Motorsport of Essex and Kent racing driver looking to come back as soon and sharpish as possible and round off the top 10 there in the Pro-Ams. It is Mark Oliver on 144 points. Outside the top 10 we have Callum Jenkins, Alex Denning, George Watson, I should say, David Mcguire, Jeff Perkins, Niall Murray, Peter Dempsey and Rob McGregor, who made his debut last time out.
And as for the AM category, we have David Whitehouse at the top still. He extends his lead ever so slightly ahead of Paul Scott of NXTGEN Racing. And Tom Delaney in third place in the 555 machine. Mark Arrowsmith in fourth position with Liam Tack, who was absent last time out, but he's back today at Daytona. He's fifth place in the standings with Dustin Lamb in sixth position, Martin Smith in seventh, Steve Thompson eighth, and Simon Robson in ninth, rounding off the category. And to explain the categories very, very quickly, it is based on skill and capability. You have the pro category drivers, which tend to be the drivers with high iRating, which is iRacing's bespoke scoring system to rank drivers across the leagues. We also have the Pro-Am category, which are drivers who are not quite necessarily a high iRating, but don't race in real life either. They're drivers who have quite a lot of capability, but slot into that middle category there. And the Am category drivers considered lesser experienced drivers, but they fill that bottom category. So it really is a championship designed for all ends of the field, whether you're fast, medium speed, or if you consider yourself a slow driver. This championship is for anyone. Anyone has a chance of fighting for a championship in some way or another. We have a 12-round championship to undergo, and tonight's racing format will be as follows. We'll have the 15-minute qualifying session in about 4 minutes' time. and then it will follow with two 15-minute sprint races, and the end of the night will be topped off with a 25-minute feature race. There's also reverse grids to keep an eye on. So the grid for race 1 will be formed by qualifying, of course, but the grid for race 2 will be formed with a reverse of the top 12 finishers from race 1. And the grid for race 3 will be formed by a full reverse grid of the finishers from race 2. So we'll keep you up to date on all the grids and that sort of thing as the night goes by. And we'll also give you a little bit of info on the schedule that we're undergoing for the season. We started off all them weeks ago at Silverstone National Circuit, and then we headed north to Scotland for the Knockhill International Circuit, at the time brand new to iRacing. The Red Bull Ring hosted round 3 of the championship, and then only last week it was round 4 of the championship, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Canada. Today we've headed south across the border and down to the bottom of the country. We're here in Daytona for the road course, not the speedway, but we are riding on a lot of the speedway, but a lot of the infield as well, iconic with the Daytona 24 hours. And Bathurst will host round 6 of the championship to see us out for the first half of the season. We'll have a week break after round 6, and then round 7 will see us head to Italy for the Monza Grand Prix circuit. Snetterton hosting round 8, with Zandvoort hosting round 9 in the Netherlands. Over to Brazil for the Interlagos circuit for round 10, and then the final 2 rounds of the championship, 2 very, very tough tracks to see us out of the season. Long Beach Street Circuit in California will host round 11 of the championship. And then the final round of the championship, the biggest circuit of them all, the biggest circuit on iRacing, the circuit we all know so well with its iconic shape and just iconic with it being a track. The Nürburgring VLN layout will host the final round of the championship. The 2-hour endurance will see us out for the season with double points on offer for the drivers, and that is on the 14th of March. Still 2 months to go until that final round, Paul, but this season we're already in the nitty-gritty of it, and a lot of drivers will still feel like they're in the early part of this season. Still a lot of drivers establishing their positions, trying to get themselves into the top end of the standings, but still a lot to play for. But we're heading into some very, very important tracks right here.
Oh, indeed. And the thing is now, with our drivers only 1 round away before they get to that midpoint, whilst it will for many still feel as though, as you say, really the start of their season just building that momentum. You can imagine any driver that emerges from the other side of rounds 5 and 6 in particular with a good set of point scores will have that momentum going into the second half, which of course kicks off with Monza. And really you want to go to Monza with that momentum on your side, because Monza is a make or break circuit. It's known for its infamous everybody backs it up into turn 1, and it is one of those cases, well, really with Monza, then Snetterton and Zandvoort being 3 very tricky races to kick off the second half of the season. Those circuits could really upset a championship campaign, and right now it's all about point maximisation. At 2 circuits, well, Daytona tonight and then Bathurst in a week's time, where overtaking can come thick and fast depending on the part of the circuit, and also it is quite easy to overtake in these cars, and there's great battling opportunities, and our drivers will be very aware of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's get into the action here. We're about to start qualifying, but fastest in practice at the moment, it is Ben Williams. Fairly new to the series. I think his debut was last time out at Montreal of Excite Racing. Here is Ben Williams, but a nice strong practice session for him here with his teammate down in 3rd place, and splitting the 2 Excite Racing cars is Johnny Mcmullen, who I think this is actually his first race tonight. He was a late entry just before Montreal and couldn't quite get in and into the action right away, but he's here today, and he's thrown down the gauntlet with 2nd place in practice there. But we head into qualifying now. A 15-minute session will see us into the first competitive session of the night. And yeah, Paul, we were talking about it before the broadcast, and a lot of the drivers are talking about it off air on Discord, but tonight is going to be all about that draft.
Oh, indeed. And the fact that you've got so many, what we would call straights, albeit curved banking, if you will, but there's so many parts of this circuit where these cars will be flat out, and you can imagine that as a result, it's all about being tucked in behind the other cars in front of you and really maximising that straight line speed as you make your way along the long banking and also down the back straight in particular before the bus stop chicane, and also coming out of the chicane, heading all the way around to the start and finish line. And I wouldn't be surprised in this qualifying session if we see literally a major traffic jam for mean, it's the equivalent essentially queuing up on the motorway in the United Kingdom, albeit we're in the United States. So we'd say that everybody's queuing up on the freeway. And as a result, I would imagine whoever's going to be right at the front of that pack, they'll either feel very confident in themselves that they like to qualify without slipstream, or they're just going to shrug their shoulders and go, you know what, I might end up starting towards the back, but I can use the slipstream in the race to gain places, whereas everyone's gained the advantage on me in qualifying. It's going to be very interesting to see how this field qualifies up, because I can imagine we may see some favourites drop down because they may not get the slipstream they want, and some drivers who we wouldn't expect to qualify up towards the front suddenly end up towards the front for the simple reason that they've nailed it with regards to getting that toe at the right point in time. And to be fair, we have seen that at some of the previous circuits, and none more so than when we were all the way back at the Red Bull Ring, if I remember correctly, where slipstream played such a critical part there.
Certainly did. But what I was expecting to see tonight is a lot of drivers squabbling for that position on track. One person who's doesn't really care where he is on track, Callum Jenkins, is just going for it here. He seems to be okay with staying at the front here. To him, he might just want to get himself a lap in, and there is a car off in the middle there. I think it was John Higgins there off in the middle. He's reset to the pit, so we'll get back with the live action. But there's going to be a lot of drivers squabbling for position, but a lot of them split up in little silos here as we head on to the banking. We got Mikey Doble here, quite a few leagues back there from Pete Newman. But I think we're going to get an on-board lap with someone else today. I think we'll give it to our championship leader in the pro category today. So this will be a lap at the very long Daytona road course, given to you by Adam Delmont and talked through by Paul Walsh.
Alrighty, thank you, Alex. So Adam Delmont, as he makes his way right now all the way up to the start-finish line, a long way to go here. You can see Max him out in sixth gear, Max out in fifth gear, I should say, 133 mile an hour currently, but getting that toe, he crosses the start-finish line and goes down to turn one, coming off of the banking into the infield, trail braking into the very late apex here of turn one, and bringing the car on through before stamping down the throttle and powering through. Now through turn two, the right-left combination here, as he goes flat out through here, and now braking down into turn three very shortly, the first of two hairpins in the infield section. And you'll see here it's a very tight initial apex, an early apex, but then a very wide exit, and he uses that wide exit, runs off there as you're connected to onto that exit curb, and now is accelerating up through the gears. The traffic ahead of him, of course, giving him a 1 to 3 mile an hour speed advantage as he comes roaring around through turn number 4 and up into 5. Into the second hairpin he comes, heavy on the brakes here, coming all the way down the gearbox to second, then to first, and rolling the car across the apex curb before then accelerating out once again. And note how wide the exit is compared to the entry. Use that width as he now comes up towards turn number 6, which completes the run through the infield. And as he comes through 6, it's all about getting that throttle once again as soon as possible in order to go up onto the banking. Now, whether he's got it absolutely perfect or not, he will be compensated by the fact he's got two Mazda MX-5s in front of him on the turn 7 banking here, giving him that ability to literally go through the air in front of him, which has been cleared out the way by the two X5s. And as he makes his way now off of that banking, hitting the rev limiter there, and that's a bit of a mistake. That's going to cost him some speed on the straight as he now heads down towards the bus stop chicane here, heading in towards turns 8 through to 11. It's going 8, 9 and 10, 11, braking at that one board and coming across the apex, cutting as much curbing as he dare, and you can see flicking the car through the chicane. And as now he makes his way out of turn number 11, it is the long run round through turn number 12 to head to the start and finish line here. And as he makes his way on through, just keeping the car nice and steady. It looks easy, but I can assure you in these cars, those little tweaks on the steering wheel that you see him apply every so often is to make sure the car stays nice and linear compared to where it could be up on the banking. And as he now drops off of turn 12, it's the run to the start finish line here. He will have the car in front of him, giving him a huge speed advantage. Remember, he crossed that line at 132 mile an hour last time he came around. This time he's going to cross that line at 136 mile an hour, and as he does so, that's enough for provisional pole position at 208.638, and 8 tenths faster than Ben Williams. What a lap, Alex.
Yeah, that was an astonishing lap, and considering you even pointed it out, Paul, there was one tiny little mistake there. It just seems that Adam couldn't quite get it up into 5th gear on the first part of the banked section, and that might have cost him a little bit of time, but yeah, he seemed to got the best of the draft there out of everyone there. 8 tenths clear, had 2 cars drafting him along on most of the bank, and then one pulled off, and he was just absolutely reeling in the car in front towards the end of the lap there. Adam Delmont, leader of the championship, the pro category championship coming into tonight, has really got it hooked up tonight. and let's see what else is going on. We've got Mikey Doble back today. Missed last time out at Montreal. He was the championship leader coming out of round 1 and heading into round 4 last week, but a week off has seen him drop to 3rd in the championship, but albeit he is only 9 points down from Adam Delmont, and there are drop rounds to look out for at some point during the season. Not too sure when, but I'm sure it'll happen at some point soon, just to establish where the drivers will be. And I think a burst engine just ahead of Mikey Doble there. That was one of the Simtech cars pulling off to the side there with a blown engine, so that's something the drivers have got to be very, very careful with, is not hitting that rev limiter a bit too much and not changing down a bit too early, particularly as it's a very, very fast bus stop chicane, double chicane really, on the mid part of the speedway here. And Mikey Doble going very slow on the banking here, trying to establish a better position on track here, I think, Paul.
Oh, definitely. I think what Mikey's finding at the moment is he's coming into the pack at the wrong time. You can see, if you look on that circuit map on the right-hand side of your screen, ladies and gentlemen, you can see Mikey Doble highlighted there, the MD icon, right in the thick of it. But he's tucked himself in behind the number 36 car, one of the next-gen racing machines, then, I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken. That is Lee Horne. Now, we know that Lee Horne is not necessarily as fast as Mikey Doble on individual pace at other circuits, but they are very close to one another, albeit Lee Horne's gone a little bit deep there. I think Mikey Doble was just trying to find himself the right place in the train at the moment, or in the slipstream train, if you will, in order to get the perfect lap. And this is the frustrating part. And remember earlier we were talking about the driver who just went out there and tried to get in a lap nice and early. That was the Furzon Racing driver. That's sometimes what you've got to do here. You sometimes got to say to yourself, okay, well, I've only got 15 minutes. I've either got to find myself somewhere in the pack, or I've just got to throw a lap in and then try and improve on it by getting myself into the pack later. But now this is the problem for Mikey Doble. He's tucked in behind Lee Horne, and he's going to have to force a move effect. It's almost as if they're racing one another now, and it will look like that to the uninitiated. It looks as though they're trying to battle for position. They're battling for the best place to be in qualifying, and it's such a frustrating experience as a driver, because you know how powerful that slipstream is, and you want to maximise it, because if you don't get it right, somebody else will. And Adam Delmont showed us what happens when you do get it spot on, even with hitting the rev limiter.
Absolutely, and Pete Newman goes into 2nd place. They're starting to catch up with Adam Delmont, who hooked up a very good lap. That's going to take some beating. Also doing very well, Craig Cockrell has just put himself into 6th overall, but puts himself 1st in category, more importantly. That's good for his performance tonight. That's good for his points in the championship, potentially, as the night goes by. Track position is going to be key here. So Craig Cockrell doing very good very early on here. Let's see what else is going on. What about our BTCC residents? We've got Adam Morgan, no time set, and he's got a little bit of a slipstream ahead of him from a few cars ahead, but the Sicily Motorsport driver in the 33 car is going to be hunting down these drivers ahead of him, and he's getting is quite a big hole in the air being punched for Adam Morgan here. So let's see what happens when he comes across the line at the end of this lap. You can see on this roll bar camera here, with having to lean our heads to the side to see the right way up on this track. It's such a steep banking here at Daytona as we level out onto the tri-oval section, the grandstand to our right, the home of speed to our right, and we come across the line. And let's see how Adam Morgan gets on. He jumps up to 5th place. A good lap indeed from Adam Morgan.
Oh, indeed, a very nice lap from Adam Morgan. That will do him very well, and I can imagine for a number of drivers right now, they won't necessarily be looking for that pole, as Dean Fairclough has literally moved all the way up to a pole, provisional pole there, with a 208.1, half a second faster than Adam Delmont. That is phenomenal from the Irishman as he makes his way on around right now, and if anything right now in the number 87 machine, really showing that there's a lot of pace out there, and I wonder if we're going to see a 207 at this point.
We could do. There's plenty of time to do that. 1300ths of a second to find to get to that. Well, it's possible, certainly is possible, but half a second again between 1st and 2nd. It's all to be done again. Adam Delmont with a good lap, opening up the session. He's got to find something else here as Niall Murray puts himself into 2nd place. You can see here, he's just about caught up with drivers ahead at the end of the lap there. That means he must have timed it to absolute perfection as he got across the line. He was right behind the rear of the 2 cars ahead, and that is enough to put him into 2nd place, a long way clear of his rivals in the Pro-Am category. Granted, Liam Silkstone in 6th, but Lee Horne down in 11th, the 3rd place of the Pro-Am category. What a lap from Niall.
Oh, indeed, a fantastic lap from Noel, and really just showing you how it can be done. And now Noel, I think at this point, will be rubbing his hands together and thinking, well, it's not quite over in qualifying yet, but that should place him very well going into race number 1. Now, just before we talk about Rob McGregor as he makes his way on around, I did have the opportunity to catch up with Deegan Fairclough as he was making his way to the car, and he informed me as to how to pronounce his surname after our mixture of pronunciations of the Irishman's surname last time around, so we hopefully won't be butchering his name anymore as he makes his way around right now and moves off a lap there and lets some drivers down into turn number 1. Indeed, as he moves out of the way, a number of drivers coming on through there, and well, that's the one thing, when you come off the speed, you've got to let a lot of drivers through, or at least peak the right time in order to give space out on the circuit.
Absolutely, and Deegan slowing himself down on the inside there to try and tuck himself into this little group ahead of him here. He's going to sacrifice a lap here because he was running slow at the beginning of it, but he seems to be willing to take the risk here. But of course he holds pole position at the moment. All the pressure is on everyone else trying to beat him. So he's going to do it to try and get himself a 2:07 7 just to secure pole position is my thinking. Oh, it's just up ahead. We saw Jamie Dory hit the grass a little bit there, runs wide going into the second horseshoe, and seems to have hooked it up and recovered it quite well, but that might cost him a little bit of time as we head out of the infield section and onto the banking. Jamie Dory 10th place at the moment, fighting in the pro category. Usually in previous seasons he's put himself into Pro-Am category, and I was speaking to him about this before the season started, and he willingly put himself into Pro category, and I have to confess, I said to him, are you sure, Jamie? But credit to him, he's doing very, very well in this championship. He's approaching the top 5 in the championship, and he put in his first race win last week, didn't he, Paul?
He did, and the one thing about Jamie, which I think makes him so attracted to the pro class, he may not have the outright one-lap pace compared to some of the pros, but when he sees an opportunity to get a result, he drives like a man possessed. It's almost like a shark to blood in the water, in all honesty, in the fact when he sees that opportunity, he goes for it, and he just finds that extra bit of time. Plus, on top of that, one thing which makes a racing driver is the ability to deliver that pace consistently. In the Britain right now, we're currently P11 overall, or what is effectively P8 in the pro class in this qualifying session, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see him, if he doesn't move up the field in this qualifying session, he'll be looking to move up the field very rapidly in the race. As you can see there, it's the case that Deegan Fairclough making his way on through there.
He's rapid. Look at him burst through the crowd there. And did he go quick on that lap? No, he didn't. Of course he didn't. He was quite slow at the beginning of the lap. But how quick was he coming off the bank in there? And he's ended up in front of everyone here. He hasn't got a slipstream ahead, and he goes sideways coming out of turn 1. Pushed it a little bit too hard and might have in fact hit the inside of the corner there where there's a tyre wall. And that'll be it for Deegan Fairclough. That is it. He will have 1 minute and a half, and he won't be able to get onto a brand new lap, as there was a little bit of a shuffle there at the top, and that was Adam Morgan crossing the line to put himself into 6th place. Huge improvement here from Adam Morgan. He's not had the best of luck in recent rounds.
No, he definitely hasn't, but the improvements are coming thick and fast right now from the Sisley Motorsport driver, and as he makes his way down into turn at number 3 right now in the number 33 car, looking very smooth indeed. I think he's timed this one right on his final lap. He's got 3 cars in front of him, but that delta between him and the rearmost car in that pack, that's Lewis Kent, I believe, just up the road from him, is the case. I think that space is somewhere in the region of about 7/10 of a second, and that's just about what you need to be able to capitalise around the entirety of the lap, because they will start to bunch up as they come out of this corner, out of turn number 5 and going up towards 6. That's when the bunch up will occur, but I think it is the case that right now we need to keep an eye, as we do see an improvement from Pete Newman there up into P3, the Pure Sims Esport and Mikey Doble racing driver there. He goes wide immediately there, taking a little bit of a rally cross line, but I think he's very happy with that performance.
Absolutely, 3rd place is not bad at all. It puts you to the front of what is a track quite difficult to overtake on, in actual fact. If I cast my mind back to Saturday when I did an endurance here in the Dallara P2-on-7, very difficult, very, very difficult indeed. And in these cars that have got a slower acceleration, momentum at the corners is going to be key with these cars, and it's all got to be done on the straights and on the banking. So it will be interesting to see the racing tonight. We might see more risky moves pulled off as a result. But it's going to be very exciting as the checkered flag is now out for this session in qualifying. We're seeing Deegan Fairclough and Pete Newman recover to the side. We have got other drivers on laps still. We have got Adam Delmont here, but he's at the front of this train here. He's not getting a slipstream, so this might be a struggle for him to improve. He's on exactly the same time as Pete Newman. And he's going to be pushed along almost by the driver behind of, that's Ben Williams. No, Ben Williams takes the inside to go past Adam Delmont, past his iRacing teammate. And here we go, Ben Williams, who was top of the standings in practice, is only 11th here in qualifying. So that is it for the Englishman for iRacing. 11th on the grid for him. Mikey Doble, our championship leader. Let's see how he gets on. He is at the back of this train here, pushing him along almost. Into 10th place goes Callum Jenkins. He was towards the bottom of the standings. Creeps up into the top 10 in the dying moments here. We got Mikey Doble pushing along the car ahead. The number 30 car of David Mcguire, who is in 9th place. So this could improve both of them. Pushing along David Mcguire as they come to the line. Onto the apron goes Mikey Doble to try and extend his lap time. Doesn't go quicker. They both, in fact, stay in the positions they were in. That's 9th and 11th. Championship leader heading into last week's round. Mikey Doble, 11th place is all he could manage.
Well, it looked difficult in the end there in qualifying, but the one biggest surprise for me, where are the AMs? I mean, we've only got 4 of them taking part time by the looks of things, but they're nowhere to be seen even in that top 20 with David Whitehouse taking the AM pole.
Yeah, Ampole in 26th position, and only 4 of them tonight, which is sad to see. No Tom Delaney tonight, which is a shame. And Mark Arrowsmith, who's commented on our YouTube chat here, good luck tonight, lads. Sorry I'm not there. He doesn't have the track. We did say a while ago Mark Arrowsmith is new to iRacing, so welcome to the big ecosystem that is iRacing. It's a bit pricey, but it's good fun. It's good fun. Hopefully we'll see Mark Arrowsmith back next week at Bathurst. Hopefully that's a track he does own. But we're heading into the end of the session here, and we will reveal the grid for you for race 1 very, very shortly. But yeah, just quickly, Paul, it's a bit of an on-the-spot question. Who's your money on for this race?
I'm going to put my money on Mikey Doble making his way up towards the top 3, but watch out right now for Niall Murray. I think Murray could have an outside chance here of setting history and becoming a pro-ham who takes an overall win at Daytona, because really, he's qualified at P2, he nailed it on the slipstream, and that's what this opening race is going to be about. It's going to be a strategic race. There won't be any pit stops, but the strategy comes in knowing when to be at the front of the pack and when just to be patient and watch. We're going to see a lot of back and forths between drivers. If I were to pick somebody outside of the 3 I've mentioned, well, out of the 2 I've mentioned there, pick a 3rd driver, potentially keep an eye out for Adam Morgan. I think he could spring a surprise as well.
Let's just wait and see. We've got a 15-minute sprint race coming up for you right now. And this is the grid. Deegan Fairclough on pole position with Niall Murray. Pro-Am driver sneaking into the top 2 there with a blistering lap time for him. Pete Newman in 3rd. On the same time, almost the same time as Adam Delmont. Nick Clibbins in 5th with Johnny Mcmullen, who hasn't got a category yet, but I assume is going to be pro at some point. He's in 6th. Adam Morgan, our BTCC resident, 1 of 2 in this race. 7th for him with Liam Silkstone in 8th position. And David Mcguire in 9th with Callum Jenkins in 10th. 11th place is Mikey Doble with Ben Williams in 12th position. Lewis Kent in 13th position with Jamie Dory, our league host, 14th. Lee Holmes, 2nd in the championship, but 15th on the grid, with Lee Horne in 16th. Craig Cockrell in 17th, with Dan Robottom, our 2nd BTCC resident, in 18th position there. Wayne Douglas 19th with Nigel Stock 20th. Ollie Peters in 21st with John Higgins alongside in 22nd. George Watson in 23rd with Ben Bennyworth in 24th. James Warrior in 25th. And first of the AM category drivers, David Whitehouse is in 26th. 27th to John Burnham with Glenn Humberston in 28th. Rob McGregor 29th with Paul Scott in 30th. Second of the AMs. Sam Smith 31st. Last of the pros. And last of the pro-AMs is Mark Oliver in 32nd. 33rd to Liam Tack and Martin Smith in 34th. There is your grid for the round 5 Next Gen Racing MX5 Cup at Daytona. I'm Alex Everett of Crest Autosport, and alongside me Paul Walsh of TX141. This is going to be Very, very exciting indeed. I'm looking forward to this. We've got Deegan Fairclough on the front row here, and alongside him is Niall Murray, and I don't think this is a rolling start. I was half expecting a rolling start today, but no, they're being made to start on the banking here, so it's going to be very difficult indeed for these drivers. But we're gridded up, and there's no Niall Murray on the grid. He has not made it in time, so it's Deegan Fairclough on his own at the front here. Away we go at Daytona for round 5 of the championship, and it's a good start by the looks of it from Pete Newman in the Pure Sims livery there, and heading over to turn 1 we go. It is Fairclough who's going to lead it into turn 1. He's got all that room alongside him because Niall Murray didn't start the race, and through he goes into turn 1.
Very smooth start from our leaders, but looking further back, we've already got Adam Morgan already having a disastrous start to his race. In fact, dropping off there, and it's the case Adam Morgan having an absolute moment at turn 1. But as everybody makes their way through 2 and up into 3 now, you can see multiple 2-wide situations here. Lee Horne just ahead of his teammate Jamie Dory, and you can see Lee Holmes just ahead in the 88 Tech machine. Everybody right now trying to get themselves into that sequence, as we've got a number of drivers jumping to the pits, including Wayne Douglas, and as they all make their way through the infield right now, we can see Deegan Fairclough really having difficulty in keeping that lead cemented, with Pete Newman all over the back of him and Adam Delmont not too far behind as they all come through turn 5 and up into 6. But now this is where the moves will start to fade away as they clear turn number 6 very shortly. They'll all start to get into that line of stern sequence, and then it becomes that big strategic situation of, okay, when do you pick to make or break a move, as they now head up onto the banking once again as they come through turn number 7. Now here's Deegan Fairclough leading the group as well. Car spin there, that's Lewis Kent by looks of things, as he tries to get himself back up to speed. Can be a bit tricky navigating turn 6 on cold tyres in particular, as he now makes his way back up to main speed. But right now our leaders coming down towards the bus stop chicane. You can see Pete Newman already going around the outside, Alex.
Outside here, going into the bus stop, the trickier line as Deegan Fairclough covered the inside coming off the banking, but Pete Newman might have got himself ahead enough. Yes, he has. Into the lead goes Pete Newman, but will Deegan Fairclough be able to take it back, as he has got a long slipstreaming period now as we approach the end of lap here. Nick Clibbins has joined the battle for the top 3 here, just on the back of Adam Delmont, and there's a big hole in the air being punched for him here, and that will edge him towards the drivers at the front here. Let's get with Deegan Fairclough. He's right on the rear of Pete Newman. He's got to time this right. He can't leave the slipstream too early, otherwise it will break the toe, as Pete Newman allows him to go to the inside. Pete Newman seems content with going to the outside. Adam Delmont pushing along Deegan Fairclough as he leads the first lap here at Daytona for round 5 of the championship. On the inside there, Delmont looked to the inside but broke a little bit earlier just to be sure. Into second place goes Delmont, and back down to third place in a matter of one fast section. Pete Newman back in third. 5 cars now changed for this battle for the lead here. David Mcguire up 4 places to 5th place. Mikey Doble, your man you put the bet on, Paul. He's up 5 places to 6th position. But our biggest mover off the field so far is John Higgins in 10th place. 12 places gained.
Yeah, John Higgins has had a very smart start to this race. He hasn't been involved in any of the contact or the instance. He's just kept himself clear by the looks of things as the Briton makes his way down into turn 5. The Hills Motorsport machine looking very smooth right now, although he does have what looks to be Jamie Dory trying to get in on the mix. But meanwhile, a bit further front, David Mcguire working against Nick Clibbins right now. Side by side battling they go as we take a look back only moments ago. And I think that's Clibbins just going a little bit wide at turn number 5, a bit late on the brakes and understeering off.
Yes, it was just a little bit of an outbreak there from Clibbins. It drops him off from the top 3, and importantly, it drops him off of 4th place. Not only that, but Mikey Doble has edged ahead into 5th place. Brilliant start to this race for Mikey Doble, as it has been for Daniel Robottom. He's in 9th place, and he's had 9 places gained. The demise of one BTCC resident sees the rise of another as he takes to the outside of Lee Holmes here. Second in the championship is Lee Holmes, so he does not want to lose too many positions, particularly as Mikey Doble is up ahead of him. Daniel Robottom to the outside, and he gets it done. Oh, and on the inside of Lee Holmes there is John Higgins. A very risky move indeed, but it bogs him down, and through goes Jamie Dory. A risky move from John Higgins sees it not pay off, and it drops him an additional position and sees him under the cosh here from Ollie Peters as well on his outside, but he's fighting back on Jamie Dory here. Jamie Dory's to the outside, and he's a little bit slower there as he's not on the shortest part of the track. He tugs tucks back in behind. And Ollie Peters, 9 places gained. A good start to this race for him as well. But at the front, we got 3 wide here. David Mcguire takes the inside. And so far on the inside, he's over the apron, which is frowned upon in oval racing. Not sure about the rules tonight. We'll have to clarify that. But it shuffles up at the front here. David Mcguire of the Pro-Am category takes the lead here at Daytona. And it is a huge trail of cars as we battle for the top spot here, Paul.
It is, and now it is all about who wants to be at the head of this train. You can see Deegan Fairclough there going into the inside into turn number 3. He wants to be the lead car in that sequence. I think what he's trying to do really is set the pace of those around him in the run around the banking as they come through turn 3 up into 4. And you can see Mcguire really reveling in this opportunity. He's going fighting the Pro-Am driver. Whilst he may be in amongst the pros and he doesn't need to battle because it won't give him any extra points, I think he is aware of the fact that Liam Silkstone is right at the back of this horde of cars trying to all go for the lead. And as a result, he doesn't want to lose out and being right in the front. But you can just see how they bunch up as they go side by side almost up into turn 6. And instead, it's the case that we've got Mcguire trying to do the switch back there under brake. He can't find it. Meanwhile, further down, it is the case that we've heard that there's been a bit of an incident involving Ollie Peters. But meanwhile, looking back up towards the leaders right now as they make their way onto the bank here, turn number 6. You can see now Fairclough just weaving around there. And whilst weaving is frowned upon if it's done too excessively, it's the case just doing a little weave here and there to try and break the toe. It is fair enough, but as we look back right now, here's what happened only moments ago, and we're looking at Daniel Rowbottom here as he made his way up into turn number 6. Now what we're going to see, he went onto the grass under braking. Looked like the car pulled to the right. I'm wondering if there's damage to that car that we haven't seen, as he has had to jump to the pits, but it looks like I think the suspension axle damage and alternatively steering rack damage, and that's what's cost it. As we look back a bit more here, and here is the incident, and where it looks as though, well, this was a bit further back, but it's caused a massive concertina effect, and Ollie Peters and Lee Horne coming together with Jamie Dory also getting attacked. Multiple drivers involved in that incident. As we now look back to live pictures, it looks as though there's been quite the scuffle in the midfield. Meanwhile, our leaders able to navigate this circuit without too much contact so far, although I do wonder how many elbows are going to start popping out as we get a little bit late on. Of course, metaphorically speaking, we don't want anybody's elbows popping out of their sockets normally in racing. That would be the sign of some rather detrimental racing. But as they now go on to another lap here, Fairclough versus Delmont as they come down, and Delmont up the inside this, well, he tried to go for the inside, now he's gone around the outside, I should say, and Fairclough just holding and defending hard is the Irishman, Alex.
Yes, he is. It's an interesting tactic from Deegan here, but he's holding the lead. He's held the lead for most laps, and he's going to use that as practice. He's going to use that as practice for the final lap. Where is the best opportunity to get the places back on these drivers so he can have his nose ahead for that final push to the line? But meanwhile, further back, it's been a brilliant sequence of corners. Mikey Doble with an undercut here and an undercut there slots himself into second position. Brilliant fight back from Mikey Doble. I tell you what, Paul, I'm going to take you to the casino one day because you've put your money on Mikey Doble, and so far it's doing quite well.
Well, I think Mikey's just simply thinking about where to put the car each and every time, because he's doing these moves very subtly, and now up into P2 here. But notice how, in the way he's got ahead of other drivers, he hasn't, well, we haven't really talked about him making these moves, and that's why he's playing such a strategic game right now. He's just thinking about those moves little by little, but now the big challenge comes. He's got to hunt down Fairclough, who is the best part of 7 attempts up the road, and closing, of course, with the fact the slipstream on the run round for the banking and down to the back straight, heading down towards bus stop. But now, will Adam Delmont play ball, or will the two of them switch places as they head up towards the bus stop? That's the big question. Also behind with Mcguire, but we focus here on Delmont. We ride on board with our P3 driver as they head into the braking zone here for the bus stop chicane. You can see Delmont just literally lift off initially before getting back on the throttle there to make sure he doesn't tap the back of the P2 driver ahead of him, and playing it smart on the top 3 as they make their way on towards turn number 12 right now. And we look back and you can see David Mcguire getting ever closer, and I think it's the case the Pro-Am driver's got a bit between his teeth as our camera is swallowed up there by the front bumper of Mcguire's MX-5 as now they make their way through 12. You can see it's the case that Delmont and Mcguire are going to try and go up high and go round the outside. Meanwhile, Fairclough and Delmont are going to, well, sorry, not Delmont, it's the case Doble are going to stay low here as they head towards the end of another lap. They head onto that start-finish line right now, and it is Delmont leading as we pass the halfway point of the race. We're less than half the distance to go now, and as they cross that timing line and go on to another lap into turn 1, it's another scramble. 2 by 2 they come. Mikey Doble backing off there down down to P4. Delmont up into the lead. Mcguire goes a little bit deep in P2 currently, but as they come through turn number 2, you can see Fairclough just trying to go around at the outside to inside, but that'll put him on the outside into turn number 3. And I really do think it is the case that right now these drivers as well, by doing these little back and forths, that as you were saying earlier, Alex, they're all trying to identify where they can go on the offense, as it seems as though both Mcguire and Fairclough have both got it wrong there, and Mikey Doble gaining.
Yeah, there was a bit of a coming together between Mcguire and Fairclough. He ended up going wide, did Fairclough, and that put Mikey Doble back into 3rd position. Oh, and a bit of a dive there from Fairclough, and Mikey Doble surrenders it straight away, trying to keep the car clean, trying to bring it home clearly, and he evaded the dive from Fairclough then very, very well indeed. Only relinquishing 1 position, and to be fair, there's plenty of time left in this race, but Adam Delmont with a very sweet, fine lap here extends his lead to 3/4 of a second ahead of Mcguire, but that's not going to be enough. They are going to catch him back up unless there is more squabbling from these drivers behind. But let's take a little bit of a look further down the field. The Pro-Am category is really split up down to 16th place. There's only 3 cars in the top 15. Glenn Humberston 4th place of the category there, and he is just ahead of Johnny Mcmullen there. Also in the AM category, we have got David Whitehouse in the Duck Song livery, the one that we love so much. He's waddling away with it at the moment, 1st place in the AM category, and just ahead of Paul Scott. But let's revert to the action at the front. Let's see how Deegan Fairclough gets back. He gets back with Adam Delmont, and exactly how I said it at the beginning of the banking, it won't take long to catch that back up, and it is the case here with Fairclough. He is right on the rear bumper of Adam Delmont. He peels out. Oh, and there was contact. That nearly put Adam Delmont into the wall. It might have been a bit tricky to see from our point of view, but a little bit of a swipe at the rear end nearly sent Delmont around. It's 3 rides as we go across the line there, as Mcguire sneaks through the inside and takes the lead back here at Daytona again with 4 minutes to go in this session. Fairclough drops to 3rd. Delmont is on the outside, and he's going to bog down a little bit on this outside here. Fairclough gets back in front with 2nd place there, and Mcguire leads a lap here in the Pro-Am category. What a race he's having. I do wonder if he's going to get promoted after tonight with a performance like this, but there's still a long night to go for these drivers. Plenty of opportunities further on, and plenty of great racing for us to watch.
Indeed, and speaking of great racing, whilst he hasn't been on the camera too much, I've just been keeping an eye on the timing screens, and Adam Morgan, who everybody will have seen had that spin at turn 1 on the open lap, he's recovered all the way up to P10 and is charging up through the field right now like a missile. He's already up into P10. He's now got a 3.5 second gap to Ben Williams up the road, but even this, to come back up to P10 after how it all went wrong earlier on, is still an achievement. But of course, we focus on our leaders right now. That's where the biggest battle is occurring, and David Mcguire, the Pro-Am driver at this point, I do wonder what's going through his head right now as he gets it a little bit wrong there on the exit of 6. In fact, cuts a huge chunk of the run onto 7. That's not going to give him the best possible top speed, but be fair, when he's at the front of this pack, I think top speed is a second question, other than just simply keep your foot to the floor and keep pushing on. As we can see, Fairclough just staying tucked in behind, and then Delmont trying to go higher this time, and essentially, well, I think he's trying to go around the outside and trying to find a different way through, but as they come roaring down towards the bus stop chicane, it's the case Mikey Doble as well, getting a bit closer now. Meanwhile, Peter Newman and Nick Clemens and Silkstone just backing off and not getting involved in this scramble for the top 4. I'm wondering whether they're perhaps banking on the idea that the top 4 all take one another out on the final lap or have a major incident, and that's where they can gain and have a shot at the overall podium as they all head on to turn 12 again.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you've made there. I am wondering what the tactics are here of Pete Newman and co behind him. But let's take another look. There are some real aggressive drivers here. Aggressive in the sense that they want that front spot. Adam Delmont splits the sandwich here. Down the middle he goes with Mikey Doble helping along, push him along, and Doble takes to the bottom of the track to try and get to the inside of Delmont. He has the inside. He might be able to take the lead here. And I think there will be only 1 lap to go here. The white flag might have been waved just then as Mikey Doble gets it a little bit wrong going into turn 1. He had to correct the front end. He's 3 wide going through the S's here, but Doble stays ahead as Fairclough goes back behind Doble. On the inside is David Mcguire as we head into the horseshoe. Through we go, and on the inside there, Mcguire holds it. Doble powering his way out of the corner, trying to keep it alongside the black liveried car, the number 30 car of Mcguire. Side by side still between the two, and Doble tucks back in behind. But Deegan Fairclough has put himself alongside Doble to the inside of the second horseshoe here. Mcguire takes the inside to defend his position here. Delmont goes goes wide at the front here. Delmont has gone wide, and that will allow Mcguire to pounce, to undercut. Oh, and there is contact! They come together. Deegan, Fairclough, Mcguire and Newman come together and they spin. Fairclough has to try and get it going again, and he does. So does Pete Newman, so they're able to finish the race, thankfully. But they come together, and it took a long time to come to blows, but it did on the final lap here. Adam Delmont leads, coming onto the banking, out of the infield. Now it's going to be straight down between him, Mikey Doble, and Nick Clibbens, who hasn't really had a shot at the top spot here in this race. He's kept it patient, but he's got a huge opportunity to take the lead here as we burst out at the bus stop. We approach the bus stop now. Delmont heads into it. First and foremost, half a second ahead of Mikey Doble. Through we go. Right again. And then a little kink to the left as we head back onto the speedway. Doble, let's see from his point of view. This is the point of view. Delmont tries to break the slipstream here. This is Nick Clibbens, who's just going to stick to the inside here. Delmont is trying to break the slipstream. He knows he's a sitting duck. Doble, all he's going to do here is just gain and gain and gain. Where does he go? Does Delmont defend the inside? Doble is going to take to the outside. Clibbens might not be enough, might not be close enough, but Doble takes the lead here. Is the checker flag out? Yes, it is. Mikey Doble takes the win for race 1 of the night here, and just about second place to Adam Delmont, with third place going to Nick Clibbens, and winning the Pro-Am category in the end, Liam Silkstone joining in with that photo finish, fourth place overall, but first in category. What a race!
Oh, indeed. What a fantastic race. There's all the drivers coming through right now. Ben Williams coming home in P5 with what was Lee Holmes coming home in P6. Then David Mcguire coming home at P7 overall. That's P2 in the Pro-Am class, with that unfortunate incident coming out to turn number 5, seeing his opportunity to go for an overall podium scuppered on the final lap. And then it was the case Pete Newman at P8 with Dean Fairclough P9, and then Adam Morgan completing our top 10. And meanwhile, in the AM class, it should be pointed out that it was Paul Scott in the end who took the win in the AM class with P22 overall, 2 place up on David Whitehouse, who came home P2 in the AM class. And then it's the case, it was Liam Tack who came home P31, third place in the AM class. But indeed, what an absolutely brilliant opener to tonight's proceedings, Alex. I don't think we could have predicted it, although I think I will take you up on that offer of taking me to the casino with Mikey Doble taking the win.
Yeah, we'll go to the horses at some point, definitely. But yeah, wow, yeah, you're a rich man right now, Paul. Mikey Doble with a brilliant overtake at the end there. He definitely timed it to perfection. He held himself off going through the bus stop and entering the bus stop, crucially as well, and timed it so he would get his nose ahead at the exact right moment to cross the line in the first position. But we're going to cast our minds back here. We're going to take a replay here of that incident that happened in the second horseshoe here. So it is Fairclough with a little bit of a nudge on the rear of Mcguire there, and another one, but it is Mcguire that goes into the rear of Adam Delmont that sends round Mcguire. Delmont got off a little bit lucky there, but let's just take another look at it here from Mcguire's point of view. He was getting a lot of nudges from behind. I just do wonder if that influenced the hit on Delmont.
I think looking back at it from what we've seen the third person plus also Mcguire, I think the issue is, and what the stewards will have to pick apart here, is the fact that in that contact you'll see that Delmont goes very deep at the front of the group, and then watch as he tries to bring himself back up to speed. Mcguire gets the tap, and then as he brings himself up to speed, he hasn't really got anywhere to go, because the MX-5 front engine rear wheel drive, when he's put his foot down, the car's just going to understeer in a straight line effectively. And what car was in his way? Well, it was Delmont, which we can't say that Delmont was there trying to do that maliciously, because he just got it wrong, was trying to get himself back up to speed. I think it was just a little bit of a misinterpretation of the amount of speed that could be carried there, and that is what led to the incident. And for Delmont, he got away with it scot-free with a little bit of tap on the rear. Meanwhile, the drivers behind, well, they just got involved in an absolutely disastrous incident, and none more so when we look at Mikey Doble, who was on the outside of the group and was very fortunate not to get collected by that. He literally had to take to the runoff area, and indeed the drivers behind us brought a great amount of reaction there from Pete Newman, and also Liam not Pete Newman, my apologies, from Liam Silkstone, and also just behind them there, I think that was also, we'll try and pick out that, was it Ben Williams who also took the evasive action right at the last moment? No, it wasn't Ben Williams, but it was a very good evasive drive from everyone behind, and that was Nick Clibbens. There we go, Nick Clibbens, who was just behind. But I think that's going to be a difficult one for the stewards to pick apart, and I do wonder whether it may get treated as a racing incident given the complexities of it.
Potentially, but for the time being, these are the results of this first race of the night. Mikey Doble takes the win with a brilliant last gasp attempt at a move there, and it paid off to get past Adam Delmont on the final stretch to the line. Delmont takes second place, but the battle is on between him and Doble in the championship. Nick Clemens takes third position, one of his best results of the season. Liam Silkstone takes the win in the Pro-Am category, with Ben Williams in fifth position. Lee Holmes in sixth. Second in Pro-Am category in the end. We were watching the incident just then. David Mcguire in seventh, along with the recovering Pete Newman. Adam Morgan, who started very, very well in a very high position, but a lap one incident sent him to pretty much last place, and he got his way back up to ninth position here. A brilliant comeback from him. Excellent stuff. And 10th place to Deegan Fairclough in the end, rounding off the top 10. Meanwhile, further down the order in 11th place, George Watson in 3rd place of the Pro-Am category, with Ben Bennyworth 12th overall. James Warrior in 13th position, with Pro-Am category championship leader Lee Horne finishing 14th. Niall Murray takes 15th with his... he didn't take to the grid at the start, but he got his way through the pack and into 15th place by the end of the race. Lewis Kent takes 16th with Sam Smith in 17th, John Burnham in 18th position with Nigel Stock in 19th. Rounding off the top 20 is Craig Cockrell with Paul Scott in 21st, winning the AM category. In 22nd was John Higgins, with David Whitehouse taking second position in the AM category, but 23rd overall. Jamie Dory takes 4th position, with Callum Jenkins in 25th. Glenn Humberstone in 26th, with Johnny Mcmullen in 27th. Wayne Douglas 28th, with Rob McGregor in 29th. And the non-finishers included Ollie Peters, Liam Tack, Daniel Rowbottom, Mark Oliver and Martin Smith. But that has been the opening race of the night. The opening race of round 5 of the championship here from Daytona. This is the Next Gen Racing MX5 Cup. I'm Alex Everett. Alongside me, Paul Walsh. We'll be back in about 10 minutes time for what will be the introduction to race 2 of the night. Another 15-minute sprint race where the top 12 will be reversed from the results here. So Ben Bennyworth will be on pole position for the next race. We'll be back very shortly. Don't go away.
holding on for so long, I can't remember why. The fire's gone, I'm all burnt out, the embers have gone dry. I don't need your love to carry on. I don't need your love to make me strong. No, I've got courage to guide me through the dark. I've got courage to follow my own heart.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Sunshine State. Although it's not very sunny in the sim right now, it's a little bit cloudy, but this racing is certainly brightening up our days, brightening up our evenings. This is round 5 at Daytona for the Next Gen Racing MX-5 Cup. Race 2 coming up in just over 2 minutes' time. So far tonight, we've had qualifying and race 1 of the night. And race 1 was won by Mikey Doble, coming up through the grid from 11th on the grid, taking a last corner attempt for the move on Adam Delmont, and a successful move with that, and he took the win in race 1. A brilliant finish. Not too many incidents at the front, but there was one notable incident that we talked about just before the intermission there that really did steal a little bit of the headlines of that first race. But Paul, the second race coming up now, we've got a reverse 12. Ben Bennyworth on the front row at the grid. What can we expect from this race? I'm thinking kind of the same, because we're seeing a lot of drivers get through the grid quite easy, easier than I first initially thought.
Indeed, I completely agree with you, Alex. I think race number 2, we're going to see quite a lot of the similar that we saw in race number 1. The only thing I can imagine now is that some heads may cool just a little bit, because now everyone will be used to running that close together over the course of an entire lap, if not multiple laps. And I think it will be the case that we'll see quite an intense opener. Perhaps the first lap or two, we should see a bit of a mad scramble, some places being gained, but then it'll go relatively quiet. And it'll be on the last couple of laps where we've got to watch out who's gained the most over that long quiet period and then goes for it. And that's what we saw from Mikey Doble in terms of coming from P11. He very subtly made his way into that battle for the lead and then struck on that final lap. Will we see somebody else do that? Will we see Doble do it again? Or will we see one of the drivers who's benefited from that reverse grid, particularly say Ben Bennyworth or what is Adam Morgan? Will we see them just hold on to the lead from start to finish?
All questions that need answering and will be answered in the next 15 minutes or so. We've got race 2 coming up very shortly. And just a little bit of a reminder of the format for these races. We have just gone through the first 15-minute race. We've got a 15-minute race coming up now. And then after another intermission, after this race, we'll have a 25-minute feature race. So plenty of action still to watch tonight. And we're about to set our way into the second race of the night, and the grid will be read to you very shortly once we tick over. But we're going to have to fly through these 31 drivers on this grid here. And without further ado, Paul Walsh is going to talk you through the grid for race 2 here.
So for race number 2, ladies and gentlemen, it's Ben Bennyworth who lines up on pole with the Pro Drive with George Watson from the Pro-Am class alongside him. Deegan Fairclough and Adam Morgan on row at number 2. Pete Newman and David Mcguire, row number 3. David Mcguire, the Pro-Am who lost out in race number 1. Lee Holmes and Ben Williams on row number 4. Liam Seepstone and Nick Clemens, row 5. Adam Delmont and Mikey Doble, row 6. James Warren and Lee Horne at row 7. Noel Murray and Lewis Kent at row number 8. Sam Smith and John Burnham, row number 9. Nigel Stock and Craig Cockrell completing our top 20. Paul Scott starting P21. John Higgins P22. David Whitehouse and Jamie Dory P23, P24, Callum Jenkins and Glenn Humberstone P25, P26, Johnny Mcmullen and Wayne Douglas P27, P28, Rob McGregor and Ollie Peters P29, P30, and last but not least, Mark Oliver starting at P31. We seem to have lost 3 drivers compared to race number 1, but whilst we may have lost 3, the racing will be no less intense here at Daytona as the gridding is complete and we're ready to go racing. Standing start as per race number 1, it's 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights, and it's go, go, go as race number 2 gets underway. And it does look as though everybody getting a smooth start, but none more so than Deegan Fairclough, who's immediately going charging up the inside here versus George Watson into turn number 1 and starting off early as he plans to finish this race by looks because I think he wants to get the job done. Adam Morgan again stays down the outside in P4, but looking further back, John Burnham in P21 as Wayne Douglas runs a little bit wide there. I think that's more of a safety run than anything else as they all come charging down through turns 1, 2 and into 3, and as they all Constantine now down into the braking zone. You can see it's the case that right now David Mcguire trying to get through. We've got one car going well, that's James Warrior. I think we've also had an incident involving multiple cars. David Whitehouse being collected there by Johnny Mcmullen, and I think there might have been more to it than just the 3 cars that we saw running wide. But as they all come charging down through the infield down into turn at number 5 here, into the second of the hairpins, it's Deegan Fairclough who is leading ahead of Ben Bennyworth here, and George Watson and David Mcguire, the 2 Pro-Am drivers, P3, P4, and staying right up in there. They're not falling away, and indeed behind them they've got a ravenous pack of pros who are trying to come on through here as they'll want to get into the lead as soon as possible before we start to end up into that strategic squabble that we've seen time and time again in race number 1. That's Adam Morgan and right now pushing on here in P5 side by side with Lee Holmes as they go up onto the banking for the first time, Alex.
Yes, and I was looking at Ben Bennyworth in second position there and I thought, wow, he's got a... not Ben Bennyworth, sorry, Deegan Fairclough getting up into first place there, and I was thinking, wow, he's got up real quick. But of course, he had the incident at the late part of the last race. But enough about that. Ben Bennyworth is inside into the bus stop. Bennyworth will take the lead back in this period of the lap here, but Fairclough will fight back. He gets on the power real early going through the bus stop there, and Bennyworth has to take to the outside to allow Fairclough through. And side by side going around the banking again here, and we got the 2 Pro-Am category drivers battling here. Third and fourth position, David Mcguire versus George Watson here. Of course, the race 1 winner was Liam Silkstone in category. And here we go, heading towards the start-finish line. It's another 3 wide, possible 4 wide. Not quite. Couldn't be made 4 wide by George Watson, but into the lead goes David Mcguire. Round the outside, going along the banking and onto the tri-oval section. Mcguire takes the lead, but Fairclough is looking to the inside and he has to stamp on the brakes as Mcguire covered the inside going into turn 1. On the outside there was Bennyworth, but Fairclough is much cleaner through the corner. Mcguire has to relinquish first position here. Oh, and there's an incident further back in the field. It involved Paul Scott and other drivers. We'll see if we can get a quick replay of that in a second. But up into third place also, and now still in third place there is Adam Morgan. What a start to this race it has been, but we're going to get a quick replay of what happened further back. It involved Paul Scott and Ollie Peters. So here's Paul Scott in the orange car on the outside. Here we go into turn 1. Now there's contact up ahead. Can't quite work out who that is, but just Paul Scott seemed to be a passenger in that, and also was Ollie Peters who collected the aftermath of that incident there. Real unfortunate. But resuming at the front here, Paul.
Indeed, as we resume from the front right now, and we can see was Deegan Fairclough getting that brilliant start and carrying on as he wishes to proceed. Mcguire and also Morgan behind, not giving up the pursuit here, and Bennyworth in P4. But look behind them. You look from P4 backwards here. We've got at least 10 cars all clustered up in the pursuit of P4 as we see Lee Holmes right now. But looking backwards from Lee Holmes in the 88 Tech car, you could just see the line of Mazda MX-5 as they come charging on through here. It is the case the field not spreading out anywhere near as much in race number 2 as it did did at the start of race number 1, and this is fantastic to see. And if anything, right now, as they all come down into the bus stop once again here, I think it's going to be the case of does the fighting continue and cause...
Oh, no!
Oh, goodness me, that's Deegan Fairclough in an instant with David Mcguire, and that is going to open things up massively here as Fairclough now returns racing. He drops down to P, where's approximately P13. We'll take a look back there, and it's contact between what's the Pro-Am and the Pro driver there. We'll need to see it a little bit before that to be able to see exactly how it played out. And here we go. So there was contact between the two of them in the run down towards bus stop, and both drivers there were both getting their elbows out nice and early, and Mcguire getting his nose ahead into bus stop. But now as they make their way into left to right, you can see the two drivers coming together. They tried to navigate side by side. Well, neither one of them was going to give up, and you can see that in both the attitude in which they went back to racing. They both immediately decided, let's just rejoin and not stop and celebrate or talk about it. As meanwhile, but oh goodness me, is that car into the pit wall there? That is, well, that's Liam Silkstone being clipped into the pit wall, and I think with him, I'm not 100% sure who that was. We've got multiple cars going off there. Goodness me, it is absolutely kicking off, Alex.
Yeah, it's hard to cover. It's hard to cover everything here right now, but we'll see if we can get a quick replay of that. I think Lee Holmes was involved in that first instant going into turn 1. Here we go. We're looking at Lee Holmes in the middle here. He breaks earlier than everyone else. Ben Bennyworth has to take to the inside, and then there's further action further back, or action, should I say, an instant further back. I think that was involving Liam Silkstone, and yes it was. He was the one who went into the barrier there. So let's see if we can get a quick look at the instant there. We got to go a little bit further back. Let's take another look. No, we're going to have to go even further back. But technically Liam Silkstone and the other Simtech car there entered the pits there, so it's not good at all. I think that's Sam Smith actually.
Yes, that's Sam Smith who got turned.
Yeah, there we go. So here's Liam Silkstone. Oh, and a little bit of tap of Sam Smith there. A little bit of a nudge to help through from Fairclough as well. And it was just a big mash of instants there in turn 1. And we'll resume the live action as we've had to look at quite a few replays there for more than half the lap. Pete Newman takes the lead here. Adam Morgan did lead the previous lap. So officially a lap leader in this series is Adam Morgan, our BTCC resident, 1 of 3. And... but now it is Pete Newman who is stretched ahead a little bit here. But Adam Morgan will be able to reel in Pete Newman here. But looking at this top 5 here, we've got 3 Pro-Am drivers in the running here. And we've got a big battle here for 4th place as well, headed by David Mcguire. As we head towards turn 1, there's plenty to watch as we got a 3 wide up ahead forming. It is Morgan versus Watson versus Newman. Around the bank and they go. And Morgan will try and cover off Pete Newman. It was very close. And look at this on the apron here. That's David Mcguire on the inside. Into turn 1 we go. Who's going to get through first and who's going to get through the cleanest? So far so good from everyone, but it's Adam Morgan who gets through first of all of them. What an impressive sequence of corners from all of them. Great respect from one another, and they managed to get through cleanly somehow.
Oh, indeed. And as they make their way now through the horseshoe here is the case. Well, look at that for Murray. Noel Murray literally coming down late on the brakes as you like it and makes multiple places up into P2 there on the inside. But, of course, now getting into the lead of the Pro-Am class, he will have Watson, George Watson, hounding him massively in the number 22 cars. They make their way up into turn number 5. Behind them, Pete Newman, well, you can see Newman going back up the inside into turn number 5 right now. It's more of a defensive posture versus Mcguire that is an offensive one. But Newman not counting himself out this yet, but I think he's worried about the fact that you can see behind them now, well, we've also got Williams, we've got Delmont, we've got Doble, we've got Fairclough, also Bennyworth. They've all caught up to the back of this, and even more drivers. Clearance, I think also Stock is in there as well, and everybody catch up to this battle for the lead. We've got 12 cars separated by a margin of only 2.5 seconds, and right now any one of these drivers could win this race theoretically. As we head beyond the halfway point of the time, we've now only got 7 minutes of this race remaining, as we can see Adam Morgan taking the low line versus Noel Murray, who goes around the outside here, and Murray's going to try and carry the momentum through in the Monster Energy machine as they make their way down towards the chicane. And it is the case, Murray, well, he's going to get this done, and he does. And you can see Adam Morgan had to back off there, and Watson had to really stamp on the anchors, because if he hadn't cut his momentum, he would have been right into the back of the City Motorsport driver as they make their way up onto turn number 12. Now Murray in the lead right now. What he will be hoping for is that Morgan will be just as worried about holding Watson behind him as he will about pursuing Murray. Murray, because the prime driver would love to break away here. But I don't think that's going to happen given how long the run is to turn 1 as they come on through and go towards the end of their current lap. And meanwhile, a little bit further back, we can see Pete Newman coming through once again here as they roar across that timeline very shortly. Newman staying low and staying tucked in behind Murray, as meanwhile we've got 4 wide almost as they all exchange places coming into turn 1. It is 4 wide under braking.
My word, that was impressive indeed. And how they're getting through cleanly so far, or are they? A little bit of a nudge there from Ben Williams on the back of the 31 car, which is Dave Mcguire, but they still get through turn 1, turn 2 and turn 3 relatively cleanly. But it is Niall Murray at the front here, and to the inside goes Mikey Doble, off on the track, off the side there. Ben Williams, he managed to keep hold of it, and Ben Bennyworth is sideways into the International Horseshoe, and he loses out the momentum from the pack here, but he can keep it going in this race. But we've still got plenty of action to watch here. We've got Pete Newman and Mikey Doble battling here for 3rd position. Niall Murray at the front here. Let's not forget Niall Murray qualified 2nd, but started from the pits and has worked his way up from the back of the start of race 1 all the way to the front in this race. What a comeback it's been. 14 places gained in this race. Technically a 13 place loss in the first race for Niall Murray, as technically he started 2nd, but what a comeback this has been from the Murray Motorsport driver.
Oh, indeed, and as they make their way through turn 7 right now, I must be honest, but I'm going to have to ask Ben Williams after this one how on earth he managed to keep that car together, whereas Ben Bennyworth wasn't able to, with the excellent iRacing driver showing us just how it's done in keeping an MX-5 under control despite the rear wheels going onto the grass under braking. But looking back up to the front, Adam Morgan continuing that pursuit here, and remembering the fact that Adam Morgan tapping the rear of his prime opponent as they make their way into the chicane. And this is the horrible part. She gets such a concertina effect into the bus stop, but as soon as they emerge, now it's all guns blazing as they go up onto turn number 12 once again. But you just see how this pack does not want to let go, even with some of the incidents. We've seen a couple of drivers drop out of this battle. We've still got the best part of 9 drivers hunting this down before you've got a 3-second gap to Nigel Stock in P10. And now as they come on through here, it's Adam Morgan who goes high, but Pete Newman with the double toe carries that momentum even higher here. They'll make it 3 wide for a brief period of time before Morgan drops to the low line. Niall Murray tucks back in, and meanwhile it's the case that Newman's going to try and hold high and go around the outside. He's not quite got the momentum to get himself clear, but behind Doble and Fairclough are also trying to get into the mix under braking into turn 1. It's the long trail break, and we can see a bit further back Mcguire coming in very deep under braking. Newman has to open the steering wheel to afford him the space, and Mcguire moves up to P4 as they come through turn 2 and up into 3 they roar. And as they make their way into the braking zone here, we've got Fairclough trying to go all the way around the outside on a cutback here, which is going to be very tricky, as we can see it's the case. Morgan having to stamp on the brakes with Murray getting it a bit wrong, and Pete Newman just manages to stay tight to the inside. Fairclough had to back out as well, and Mcguire and Doble staying behind all of this as Delmont's also getting into the mix in P7 and creeping closer. They come down towards turn number 5 right now, all scrambling for bits of space to chat, and Fairclough goes up the inside from very far back. There's contact with Pete Newman. Newman is launched up onto 2 wheels, but he's able to keep the car together. Whether that's racing in damage or not, he'll soon find out. But as they make their way into turn number 6 right now, Niall Murray defends versus Adam Morgan, and surely they've got to realise they've got 3 minutes remaining, not 1. There's still 1 more lap after this, but who cares? They say they're going racing, and we love to see it.
Absolutely, what great racing we're seeing here. A little bit of argy-bargy there. Big move to the inside from Fairclough there, but it's not over yet. We saw another brilliant move in the International Horseshoe from Niall Murray there, but we have got Fairclough pushing along Adam Morgan. To the inside goes David Mcguire, almost 4 wide going down the main straight here. Adam Morgan leads the 4-car spread here going into the bus stop. Who has the inside? Mcguire just about had it, but Adam Morgan is able to outbrake and get it to the inside. Morgan leads coming out of the bus stop. Who will lead when we get to the line? And we'll see the white flag at the end of this lap here. Here we go onto the banking again. To the outside there goes the monster machine of Niall Murray. He's going to push along David Mcguire. Meanwhile, Deegan Fairclough in 3rd place is going to push along Adam Morgan. This is keeping Adam ahead at the moment, but it's going to get closer and closer between these 4. Here we go. It's not quite 3 wide as we start this final lap, but pushing ahead is David Mcguire. Into the inside he goes to guard off from Adam Morgan. It's almost bump drafting like NASCAR right now as they head into turn 1 now for the infield. Adam Morgan brakes early, securely early, and he has to time this to perfection now. He might actually be in one of the best opportunities here. Starting the lap from first place might not necessarily win you the race at this track. To the inside goes Niall Murray to defend. No dive bomb on him like we saw from him on others, but it's a bit of a nudge from others and Adam Morgan. It sends him wide, and to the inside goes Adam Morgan. We've also got Adam Delmont looking to the inside here, tucks in behind Adam Morgan here towards the second horseshoe we go. Murray has still got his nose ahead. Morgan has got to take to the curb, and he uses a little bit of the runoff area. Still got the inside for the second horseshoe, and he takes the move here. Brilliant persistence from Adam Morgan, but it's not over yet as Adam Delmont here is fighting back. A bit of an undercut coming out of the second horseshoe, but to the inside goes David Mcguire. He takes third place, and a bit wide there goes Adam Morgan. And through goes Niall Murray and into first place. A bit of a mistake there from Adam Morgan, or was it purposeful? Did he let through Niall Murray on purpose? It remains to be seen, but David Mcguire is on his inside now. This is going to be an interesting finish to this race indeed. Niall Murray, you have to say, is probably in the worst position of them all, but let's see what happens here. Is Mcguire going to go for it just yet? He's going to look to the inside. Adam Morgan is going to look to the outside. Deegan Fairclough is going to go straight down the middle. He pushes Niall Murray. He goes sideways a little bit. Into the bus stop we go. Twitching the car into the bus stop goes Niall Murray. Adam Morgan is still side by side with David Mcguire. How they got through that corner side by side is beyond me. And now it's a straight race to the finish. Foot to the floor. So we have got Deegan Fairclough in second place now. He has managed to creep through in the bus stop there. Adam Morgan has dropped back here to 6th place, so it's going to be a bit of a struggle for him. Niall Murray up ahead here. He might be in the clear here. He might have got the best exit from the bus stop. He is in the clear, but back here we've got a battle, and Fairclough has gone wide. Adam Delmont has hit him and they go wide, but at the win of the race here it is Niall Murray, and Adam Morgan takes the win in the pro category. But for the second time this season, a Pro-Am category driver takes the win in this race here, and Adam Morgan winning the pro category there, just taking it on the line. And we'll get a little bit of a replay because we had to congratulate the winner. But what a finish to that race there, Paul.
Oh, indeed, and my goodness, how your voice was able to hold up with all that exchange right at the end, and Niall Murray just seemingly making the breakaway right when he needed it most, coming out to the chicane. I think, well, we'll take a look back, of course, very shortly. I think it was just Adam Morgan and Mcguire. Neither one of them wanted to cede the ground coming out of the chicane, and that just left Murray so much space to run away with by comparison. He was a second ahead as they made their way past the midway point of the turn 12 bank, and that just gave Murray so much room to play. And then the scramble behind for P2, and Adam Morgan in the end taking P2 by such a minor margin, but such a critical one, and taking that pro class win, which I think he'll be giving himself a huge pat on the back given just how badly race 1 went for him after a good qualifying session. And let's not count out David Mcguire as well with that P4 finish.
Oh, absolutely. Credit to most of the drivers there. They were battling so well. And it's strange to see Fairclough and Delmont finish 7th and 8th there, because just 10 seconds from the end of the race there, they were contending for 2nd. It was incredible, and that's the kind of racing we're seeing tonight. But a big hats off to Niall Murray, getting his first win of the season, overall and in category, and also Adam Morgan, who has burst through in this round, it's got to be said, to take a win in category there. 2nd place overall, which he might be a little bit gutted about deep inside, but a win in category gets him maximum points. But we're just waiting for the results to finalise so we can show you what happened in that race. And we'll get a few replays as well of that finish at the end there, just to see who broke through and who had the cunning edge on everyone else. But we've got a 25-minute feature race coming up very shortly. We'll be going for a break not too long after we round off here for race 2, but it'll be a 25-minute feature race coming up soon. It'll be a full reverse grid of the finishing drivers in this race. But without further ado, we're able to go through the results of this race, provided to you by Paul Walsh.
Alrighty then, so your results, subject to any stewards' inquiries, after race number 2 at Daytona, Noel Murray taking the win in the end by 6/10 of a second. The Pro-Am driver taking the win, only the second time in this series that a Pro-Am has taken the overall win, ahead of Adam Morgan. And then David Mcguire, another Pro-Am driver by looks of things, taking home that P3 when all is said and done. Pete Newman missing out on the podium by only a margin of 5 thousandths of a second, would you believe it? The Pro driver then P4, and Mikey Doble completing our top 5. Diggin Fairclough coming home in P6 ahead of Ben Williams, Adam Delmont P8, Ben Bennyworth P9, and then the Pro-Am Callum Jenkins completing our top 10. Wayne Douglas just missing out in the top 10 by a small margin, with Nick Clibbens, Nigel Stott, Rob McGregor and Craig Cockrell completing our top 15. And then it's Lee Holmes, George Watson, James Warrior, Mark Oliver and John Burnham round off our top 20. Ollie Peters P21 in a very difficult day of racing in race number 2. Lee Horne P22 involved in an incident earlier on the race. And then David Whitehouse came home with P23 overall. That's the win in the AM class there for the number 29 driver. Liam Silkstone being in P24, Johnny Mcmullen in P25, John Higgins P26, Glenn Humberstone at P27, and then drivers who did not finish on the lead lap included Lewis Kent, Paul Scott, Sam Smith and Jamie Dory. I believe in particular Sam Smith and Jamie Dory having retirements early on in the race. But all 31 drivers being listed and classified there, and now we look ahead to race number 3.
Yes, we will, and we'll get a few quick replays before we head off here. So got to get past all the post-race crashes that are very, very characteristic, that's got to be said. So let's take a look to the finish at the end there. I think this might be the best opportunity to start watching it. So we are looking at, I think it's Adam Morgan here. So Adam Morgan is, yeah, there he is, taking to the outside of David Mcguire now. And it's because Deegan Fairclough and Adam Delmont came together and ended up on the apron that Adam Morgan was able to sneak through. He had a brilliant sort of slingshot, NASCAR-style slingshot that fed him through into second place. And let's just get another quick shot of that. So that's Adam Morgan on the outside, following the black 31 car. And then when the three come together, Morgan just peers through with the lack of slipstream that Mcguire is getting. And that gets him into second position. It was a 3-wide finish for second, third and fourth there at the end. Brilliant, brilliant to watch. And let's get another look at that, because we had the coming together between Fairclough as well. So what can we see going on here, Paul?
So looking at Dean Fairclough as they make their way off the bank, you can see both drivers coming down, and it looks as though Delmont, they're trying to squeeze his way, and it's just that tap on the rear end where Delmont's so close in and Fairclough coming down slightly off the bank. Both drivers, to be fair, respectfully bringing things back under control, but I think that's just what unsettled. And we saw that earlier, didn't we, Alex, in race number 1 in particular towards the end, when there was a little swipe on the back of one driver's car just at the wrong angle, and that caused the driver to lose control, and that's exactly what we saw again between Delmont and Fairclough. No harm intended, it's just the case both drivers wanting to push on. In particular, I think Delmont just wanting to get the move on there, trying to give the tap to the Irishman, but in the end it was the case. It upset both of them and opened up the door for the mad charge around the outside, and in particular Delmont missing out as they crossed the line. And well, what a way to end in the battle for P2.
Well, there we go. You've seen how it's ended there. Very dramatic indeed. But we are going to head off for a quick intermission here, and when we come back, it will be the third race of the night. A full reverse grid coming up. It's been very, very interesting so far, it's got to be said. And it's not going to end anytime soon. Join us in approximately 5 to 10 minutes time. We'll be back for the third race of the night. I've been Alex Everett and Paul Walsh alongside me. We'll see you very shortly.
Cold at the touch, dead in the eyes. No signs of life no more. I put your love under the knife. Leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. A crying dove may never fly. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. It's black and white. Come on. Black and white, just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. It's black and white. Black and white.
Sometimes when you're here, I can't feel no doubts, 'cause you keep me where the stars are found. It doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really matter, 'cause I feel so free now. It doesn't really matter. but you know I never will. No, so I choke you down just like a pill.
Welcome back, everyone, to Daytona in Florida for round 5 of the Next Gen Racing MX-5 Cup. I'm Alex Everett of Crest Autosport, and alongside me, Paul Walsh of TX141, commentating on the action unfolding tonight in this very, very interesting round indeed. We're approaching the halfway point in the season, so tensions are getting high. There's a lot of big moves being thrown in a lot of these races tonight as drivers are trying to establish better positions in races throughout the night to get the best amount of points they can possibly get. And what we've seen tonight is a lot of races to the finish and a lot of photo finishes already. We saw a photo finish for second place headed by Adam Morgan in race 2 there, but the race won by Niall Murray, of course. And in race 1, we saw the win from Mikey Doble breaking away on the final lap to take the win away from Adam Delmont. But Paul, we've got race 3 coming up very shortly, a full reverse grid, and we'll go through the details of that grid very, very shortly. But if we thought the racing was interesting before now, it could be even more exciting for this final race here.
Oh, most definitely. With a number of drivers, particularly in race number 2, of course, being out of that race early on, we saw a multitude of drivers experience the instance and finishing well outside their target finishing positions. Is the case, those drivers will be starting up towards the front, whereas the drivers who we have seen really dominate proceedings and been the focus of attention in the battle for the top 10 and the battle for the top 5, those drivers starting well down the order. And when we say those drivers, we're referring to the likes of Adam Morgan, Mikey Doble, Deegan Fairclough, Liam Silverstone, also what is Ben Williams, Niall Murray, etc. All these drivers now will have to claw their way up through the field over the course of 25 minutes, and it'll be interesting to see how they approach it. Their different approaches, whether they'll try and do it quickly, whether they'll try and take it gradually. Of course, they'll be conscious of the fact that the longer they take, there's the greater the likelihood that the field may split, and if it does, then they could lose out on that opportunity to score a major result in race number 3.
Certainly, and we were talking about the field might get a little bit split up in this race here. There's a chance it might all stick together throughout the entire 25 minutes of this race, but the tyres degrading after we hit 15 minutes. As we've seen for most of the season so far, after 15 minutes, the tyres really do degrade on these cars. But Daytona is a track that is particularly harsh on the tyres due to the steep banking, of course, and the car's not set up to ride the oval sections as optimal as it should be, like what NASCAR and IndyCar uses. But yeah, we're going to see. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very difficult to predict who's going to win this race. I mean, you can't really put your money on anyone, really, can you? You can almost guarantee there'll be a few drivers really surging their way to the front, the likes of Mikey Doble, Deegan Fairclough, Niall Murray, yet again, he'll get his way to the front, as will Adam Delmont, most likely, and Adam Morgan, who's had a great night as well. He might be able to get his way to the front. But it's going to be very difficult to predict this final race. It's up for grabs for anyone, and that means anyone has a chance, and that means all the drivers are going to be sitting there thinking, I could get this if I get everything right. Kate Minogue's out of trouble. It will be very interesting indeed. Turn 1's going to be interesting as well, and the final stretch to the line is going to be interesting. And we're just waiting for the session to be moved on. In the meantime, we'll just go through a few things about the series before we head into the next race. This is the calendar we're undergoing for the season. We started off all them weeks ago at round 1 at Silverstone National Circuit. Knockhill was the next round for round 2 in Scotland, brand new at the time to iRacing. The Styrian Mountains of Red Bull Ring was round 3 at the championship, and then we leapt over the Atlantic to the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in the Notre Dame River. Round 5 today at Daytona, and then 1 week today, on the 17th of January, we'll be heading down under. We'll be heading to Australia. Mount Panorama Bathurst will host round 6 of the championship. Home of the Bathurst 1000, home to some of the greatest races we've seen in V8 supercars. And that's going to be an interesting race for these MX-5 cars, plunging down the mounting and also creeping up the mounting, of course. Very much looking forward to that race indeed. Quite a different nature of circuit to this one. It's very quick, granted, but very narrow at the same time. So do tune in 1 week from today, either here on Crest Autosport TV, on YouTube or Twitch, or of course on NXTGEN Racing on Facebook. Either of them channels, do give them a like, follow, share or subscribe from wherever you are watching. And the remainder of the season, round 7 at Monza, followed by Snetterton 300 layout. Zandvoort will see us out for the 3/4 point of the season. And then Interlagos will host round 10 of the championship. And the final 2 rounds, 2 very difficult circuits indeed. Round 11 will be hosted at the street circuit of Long Beach. And round 12 will be the Nürburgring VLN layout, where it will be a 2-hour endurance race with double points on offer for the drivers. So a lot at stake on that final round of the championship on the 14th of March. To get involved in this series, all you have to do is contact NXTGEN Racing via Facebook or head to nextgenracing.co.uk and you can get involved in the series via their portals there. There are plenty of races to take part in. There's these Monday night MX-5 races. There's also a Set Corsa Competizione on Tuesdays. And there's also the GT3 races on iRacing, commentated by Paul Welsh himself alongside me on Wednesday nights. And there's plenty of leagues to get involved in NXTGEN Racing. 3 races tonight, and we're about to enter the feature race. And whether you are a fast driver, medium speed driver, or you consider yourself a slow or inexperienced driver, there's plenty of opportunities for championships in this series to get involved in. All you have to do, as I mentioned, is go to nextgenracing.co.uk or contact NXTGEN Racing, as it's spelt in the top left there, via Facebook to get involved in the series. And we are just waiting for the session to progress here as the sun is setting here in southeastern state of USA in Florida, and what a night it's been. So let's go for a round of bets again, shall we, Paul? Who's your money going to be on for this race? Granted, very difficult to predict.
Oh goodness, you're tempting fate here, Alex. Well, if I had to put my money on anyone, I would say I'm going to put my money on being right up there once again will be Mikey Doble. I think you can always count on him to be making a conquest for the win. But I'm also going to throw in a couple of different names this time, perhaps names that we wouldn't normally expect, as I believe we are very shortly getting the skip on. In fact, we are. I'm also going to be keeping my eyes out for, I think Nigel Stock will enjoy this opportunity to be starting a bit further up the front. And also watch out for Ben Bennyworth. But let's hand the grid over to you, Alex.
Let's go through the grid. It's Paul Scott on the front row with Lewis Kent alongside. Second row is Glenn Humberston and John Higgins. Liam Silkstone in 5th with David Whitehouse in 6th position. Lee Horne and Ollie Peters on the 4th row, with the 5th row taken up by John Burnham and Mark Oliver. James Warrior and George Watson line up on the 6th row, with the 7th row taken up by Lee Holmes and Craig Cockrell. Rob McGregor and Nigel Stock line up on the 8th row, with the 9th row taken up by Nick Clibbins and Wayne Douglas. 19th and 20th, Callum Jenkins and Ben Bennyworth. Adam Delmont and Ben Williams next, with Egan Fairclough starting 23rd and Mikey Doble, the race 1 winner, 24th. Pete Newman will line up 25th with Dave Mcguire 26th. Adam Morgan will line up 27th with Niall Murray in 28th. Sam Smith in 29th. Jamie Dory 30th and Mark Arrowsmith 31st. But we're about to get underway here for this next race of the night. The lights are red and we're about to go here for Daytona. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. On a jump start from 4th place, John Higgins Higgins there, and that will certainly give him a drive-through penalty. But the racing is underway elsewhere on the track from these drivers at the front here. It is Paul Scott that will lead us into turn 1 here, and through we go. Let's see if everyone gets through relatively safe and clean. Lewis Kent has got the inside of Glenn Humberston at the front there. Wide there goes Wayne Douglas. There's a little bit of contact further up, but no spin so far apart from the mid-pack here. It bunches up a little bit here, and it's Ben Bennyworth who turns round at the back here, as does David Mcguire and Mikey Doble. The race 1 winner is very low down the order now and maybe out of contention already. But meanwhile at the front, oh, there is a spin in the mid-pack. It's Wayne Douglas. Wayne Douglas had a spin, and there's quite a few spins here. Oh, and there's a big incident at the back there. Mark Arrowsmith, who has joined for this 3rd race, has got himself involved in an incident back there, and Pete Newman is also involved in an incident up there as well.
Well, goodness me, it has been quite the dramatic start to this race, and multiple incidents. To be fair, everybody mostly getting through turn 1 absolutely fine, but it seems as though turn 3, the major culprit for the contact this time. We've seen at least 6 to 7 drivers involved in the 3 separate major incidents, but Paul Scott, to be fair to the AM driver, whilst we haven't seen too much of him today, it is the case that the AM driver having a perfect start and, well, just putting his foot down, the Next Gen Racing green driver, and getting on with the job right now. We will expect, of course, that John Higgins will gradually close up to him from P2, will the Pro Class driver, and David Whitehouse just behind Higgins in P3 and looking for the move around the outside already. Now into the bus stop chicane. But here's the thing as well that we've got to keep an eye on. There's a bit of door-to-door contact between the two of them there. We could hear the paint scratching as they make their way down in towards the bus stop here, and as they come on through a bit further back, we've got Humberstone and Silkstone both trying to get into the mix there, P4, P5, but focusing on the drivers in that battle for the top 3. You can see it is the case that as they make their way onto the turn 12 banking to start to come to the end of the opening lap. How this field has, well, whilst it started off quite spread out after the opening couple of corners, now it's all starting to come back together again. But it is the AMs right at the front right now who are making the use of that reverse grid and trying to lead this one ahead. As we see, that is Higgins, I think, having to lift off there and doing a significant lift off. We've got 4 wide further back, and Higgins into the pit. As we can see, it's Ollie Peters, Lee Horne, Lee Holmes, and also John Burnham all running in across that timeline run. It's Ollie Peters who's leading this pack of 4 with the Crest Autosport machine, having Lee Horne come down his inside right now as Horne's going to look for the move, and Ollie Peters literally on the threshold of grip available. As we see David Whitehouse running a bit wide there out of turn number 1, and as they come through 2 and head up into 3, all of these drivers making their way into the braking zone. It is the case that we've had run off there. I believe that might be, that's not quite Nick Clivens unless I'm very much mistaken, but focusing on the lead right now, we can see David Whitehouse coming back at Liam Silkstone here as they make their way out of the first part of the horseshoe and head along to turn number 5. Now can David Whitehouse hold that outside to inside line through 4 and up into 5? I think he's lost the momentum here, but definitely is the case that the AM drivers getting those defensive elbows out nice and early. They do not want to be left behind in this battle for the lead, as they know there's a major opportunity here, and Paul Scott leading this right now, but he's got Silkstone closing very rapidly. As we've also got Humberstone and Lee Horne now closing up to the back of Whitehouse, and Whitehouse being passed around the outside there at turn number 6. I think that's very bold to try and go all the way around the outside. In fact, Humberstone now to get back under momentum as they make their way up onto the banking once again. But definitely quite a different start from what we expected, Alex. It's the case that everybody getting quite fighty early on.
Well, could we see the first time an AM category driver wins a race here? It's certainly going well so far for Paul Scott, as he's led for much of the race so far. But meanwhile, the biggest movers of the field so far, 14 places gained for Deegan Fairclough here in 19th position, 9th place, sorry. 16 places gained for Adam Morgan. Brilliant night so far for him. Can he keep it up? And 15 places gained for Jamie Dory. I thought he wasn't going to attend this race, but he's in the server and he's up 15 places to 15th so far. Back at the front, Silkstone has got himself ahead of Paul Scott. I believe it was back at the bus stop, and we'll get a quick replay of that before we move on. To the inside went Liam Silkstone. It is the Excite racing car on the inside of the Next Gen racing car, and through he goes, and a bad exit from Paul Scott, and that puts Silkstone in the clear as we head on to the next lap. And Lee Horne, actually, that's not Paul Scott, that's Lee Horne to the outside. Lee Horne is already a race winner this season, I believe. I think I'm right now. I think he got a win at Montreal, or he was battling for the win at Montreal anyway. But look at all this gaggle of cars here, and right in the thick of them at the moment is Deegan Fairclough with 16 places gained. He's going to join in with all the action here. He tries taking to the inside of Ollie Peters. Contact between Paul Scott and David Whitehouse. They come together, the two AM category drivers. Oh, and through go all the other drivers, including Adam Morgan, who managed to get through safely. And I think John Burnham was also, not John Burnham, there was someone else also involved in that incident there. But it is now only 6 cars at the front here. It's Horne from Silkstone, Fairclough, Peters, Holmes and Burnham at the front here.
Well, it does seem as though with that contact, it's really enabled the top 6 to start to make the break away from the rest of the attacking field. 'Cause you've got David Whitehouse, who's been able to keep the AM machine together in P7, albeit he's now 2.4 seconds off of the top 6. And I think the damage he has picked up on that car is now starting to hold him back. We'll see when he comes to the end of this lap just how much he's going to drop as they make the way through turn number 7. But you can see now he's been pulled backwards here into the pursuing pack, with Adam Morgan being at the head of the hunters as they all make their way down towards the bus stop chicane. Morgan going high here as we ride on board with the number 33 driver, and we cut away to Dean Fairclough here as he makes his way down into the bus stop. And as they come on through, it's Ollie Peters who's trying to look for the move at the head of the cameras. Lee Horne and Liam Silkstone, however, further back we've got Adam Morgan at side by side with what is it? That's Craig Cockrell, in fact, who's coming on through as well. Up into P8 is the Simtech Racing Gold driver in the Pro-Am class, and we can see that both Adam Morgan and there's the number 8 car just literally tootling along there. I think they are a lap down by looks of things as they're going very slowly. That was John Higgins, in fact, going very slowly, but we're not to worry about that for the time being as we focus on the lead battle right now. We can see that Lee Horne trying to hold on to that lower line versus Deegan Fairclough, who's literally just come all the way through the field, gaining that many places in the space of only a limited number of laps. But now as they're 3 wide going across that timeline, it's going to be Ollie Peters who comes to the end of this lap in the lead. But as they make their way down into turn at number 1, you can see Lee Horne trying to tuck in here deep on the inside. Meanwhile, it's Fairclough who tucks behind, and as they make their way through, Ollie Peters goes a bit deep. He keeps it together. He doesn't take to the rallycross line. I go onto the grass, but it is the case. He loses that momentum. He drops down to P3 and now finds himself having to battle on the inside into the first of the horseshoes as they make their way through turn number 3. Now as they come through, it is the case that Lee Holmes will have that battle with Liam Silkstone. Silkstone going a little bit wide there. Meanwhile, Deegan Fairclough also battling as they come on through, and then behind it's John Burnham in P6 and the Alpine livery machine that just watches on as they all come through 4 and up into 5. Now what can Deegan Fairclough do? Well, he's going to go very defensive here. He does not want Lee Holmes getting in the way. I think the 87 driver feels at this point he can now go and hunt down Peters and Lee Horne if he gets a good run out to the infield and up onto the bank in the turn number 7. But it is looking as though it's a bit of a scramble at the moment, but at the same time I think it also the leaders of this pack in particular are wary of the fact that they are gradually allowing the rest of the field to inch forward as Ollie Peters goes deep there into turn number 6, loses a lot of momentum and loses places with it, but he doesn't drop out of this hunt. He just drops places in the hunt as they now make their way down towards bus stop. But keep in mind, Adam Morgan in P7 is now only 1 second off of this top 6 as they make their way down towards the bus stop chicane.
Plenty going on at the front here. 21 places gained for Deegan Fairclough as it stands in this race with 8 minutes expired. He is now well and truly in the battle for the lead here. Lee Horne guarding the inside now comes back onto the racing line to go into the bus stop. Through we go. Can Deegan Fairclough get a good run through the corner? It looks like he can. Here we go. Onto the bank here we go. And Deegan is right up on the rear of Lee Horne already. A big nudge at the rear to say, get a move on, Lee. We need to get away from these guys behind. Lee Holmes here. Big opportunity for him here to get decent championship points on his rival. Mikey Doble down in 14th place at the moment. Now just up to 13th place as he passes Jamie Dory. Now for the front 2. Lee Horne versus Deegan Fairclough, and in the middle it's going to be Lee Holmes. He's actually backing off a little bit, it seems, and back here we've also got Ollie Peters versus Liam Silkstone. Ollie Peters to the outside, but at the front Deegan Fairclough leads the race here. It's very surprising that Deegan has not won a race yet tonight. It's gone to Mikey Doble and Niall Murray, but let's see how he gets on in this race. Still a 5-way battle here. Burnham has dropped off a little bit from this front pack here, and it is reeling in Adam Morgan, who's been one of the star players tonight in this race as he gets up into 6th place, and he can set his sights on the front here. And now Adam Morgan will have a slipstream from these cars ahead, and he'll be able to pull him up towards them, which is good news for him as we see Lee Holmes and Lee Horne swap positions together. 2 very similar names. It's hard to differentiate them. But to the inside, Lee Horne, he does not go for a move back on Lee Holmes. He is guarding off from Liam Silkstone instead. And that allows the pro driver up into second place. Lee Holmes has had a very quiet night so far, but this is a good showing in this third race so far. Only 10 minutes in, 15 minutes to go, all to play for in these top positions here.
Well, indeed, and as they now come through turn at number 7 here and really start to build up a bit more momentum, it is the case that right now the drivers will be starting to think about, as we were talking in the build-up to the race, Alex, with regards to the tyres fading away around that 15-minute mark. Now, who will be the ones to push the tyres too hard? Because every one of these little battles, particularly coming down to the braking zone, such as here coming down to the bus stop, just that extra bit of effect or force onto the brakes is only going to wear those tyres down a bit more and also trigger a bit of additional brake fade, and that's what's going to be in the minds of our drivers, because remembering we've got quite heavy braking zones here and also one huge trail braking zone which is into turn number 1, and that could be the difference if a driver just simply gets it wrong. And speaking of getting things wrong, I'm hearing that Mark Oliver and Nigel Stock further down the order have both been involved in a major incident, has seen them drop all the way down, and Mark Oliver jumped to the pits. But we're focusing here on Adam Morgan on your cameras, ladies and gentlemen, as he goes charging after the top 5, and you can see the top 5 once again moving into the formation or trying to navigate their way around. You can see that Lee Horne just tapping the back of Deegan Fairclough, as meanwhile Lee Holmes tries to go round the outside. They go on to another lap here. Ollie Peters going very wide. He does love that high and dry line as they make their way through turn number 1. You can see Liam Silkstone there just tucking right into the middle of it all and trying to find a way through as Deegan Fairclough goes wide there, but he brings it just about back under control. He's given the space by Lee Holmes, to be fair, and Lee Holmes is now up in position. Fairclough drops down to P2, P3, but it's going to be Lee Horne who tries to go all the way around the outside. Well, I think that's only going to go one way, and it will be a cut back on no success as they make their way through and now head up towards another corner. But meanwhile, David Mcguire, he's just had to retire the car, or at least take it into the pits. What happened to Mcguire here, Alex?
On the inside here, it's a smoking engine there, so he might have burst the engine under braking into the corner. He pulls over to the side to retire the car. I think he damaged his engine braking into turn 1, but we will resume with the front pack here. It's sadly a retirement for David Mcguire, who put on such a good show in races 1 and 2. Back at the front here, it is Lee Holmes who leads this race, and he's guarded it so well so far on this lap, with Lee Horne heading the Pro-Am category. By the way, we haven't quite mentioned that he is leading the Pro-Am category in the championship coming into tonight and in this race. So this is good for him. This is real good points for him. It maintains his championship lead from his rivals that include Wayne Douglas in 4th in category right now in this race. And there was also... forgot the name of the driver now. It's completely gone from my head. But let's carry on from the racing right here. We got Lee Holmes guarding the inside. He covers the inside. But Deegan Fairclough, we've seen, is very good on the exit here. He sneaks it to the inside on the exit of the bus stop there. But is that too early? It might well be, as he tucks back in behind. We've got in 3rd place here. Well, look who it is. It's Adam Morgan. Fantastic burst through to get into this battle for the top spot. He's going to give a little nudge to Lee Holmes here to get him going a little bit faster than Deegan Fairclough here. But we have also got Lee Horne helping out Deegan here. Let's see what Lee Horne decides to do. He's going to stick behind the 87 car as we cross the line. Lee Holmes will lead another lap here. Granted, very close between him and Deegan. Into turn 1 we're going to go. There are so many cars here, and Ollie Peters yet again taking to that outside line. He feels like it's the better line to be on. It's very tricky to overtake on the outside. There's this reverse camber going through turn 1. So Fairclough remains in 2nd. Morgan hasn't quite made the move yet. Guarding the inside here is Lee Horne from Silkstone. And into the International Horseshoe we go. Ollie Peters with a big undercut here. Can he get himself past Lee Horne as we head over towards the 2nd Horseshoe? We've got a kink to the left coming up very shortly. Peters will have the outside on Silkstone, not Horne going into this corner. Can Silkstone cover off the inside before Peters can get there? No, he can't. Peters will try and take to the inside. Through he goes, and he brakes a little bit early, and that allows Ben Williams to pounce on his outside. And there's contact between the two cars, and they have to back off a little bit to make sure they stay in the race here. But Peters drops down to 7th place, back towards the front. Holmes still leads it, and Fairclough pushing desperately hard, coming out of the corner there to try and get as much speed as he can out of the corners. We've seen such aggressive driving from when it comes to driver to car from Deegan Fairclough tonight, taking every little opportunity he can, taking all the road and more to try and make his car as quick as possible. Morgan has also done the same. He's been blisteringly quick tonight, and he's got a good slipstream here up the banking. He's going to take to the outside for the bus stop here. Deegan Fairclough isn't quite sure where's best, and he's going to tuck in behind Adam Morgan here, who's going to slot into the middle of the two of them. Through the bus stop we go, and look how quick Deegan Fairclough is through the bus stop there. He's definitely one of the quickest on track when it comes to getting through that corner. But so far, as somebody pulls off to the side there, it's Deegan Fairclough. He has a slow down penalty. He cut too much at the bus stop there. So where we've been seeing him take so much time out of others, he's taken time, huge time out of himself now with that slow down penalty.
Oh, indeed, Alex. And I think right now he'll be kicking himself for that one, pushing it to the absolute limit, and the limit has bitten back. But meanwhile, right up front, the battle for the lead. It goes free wide into turn number 1 once again here as they're staggered in, but now they all line up as they come down, and under the braking they go, trail braking, and they all give one over the space. You can see that it's the case Lee Horne trying to go round the outside. He just about gets it nailed there as he's side by side on exit with Lee Holmes, and eventually has to back out on the exit of turn number 2. Now as they make their way down to turn number 3 here, we can see meanwhile we've got Ben Williams trying to come on in, but we focus here on Lee Horne riding on board with the front left side of the suspension, and it's just how close it's getting between these drivers as they make their way out of the first horseshoe and head down towards turn number 5. They go through the left hand kink of 4 beforehand to get to the second horseshoe. You can see Adam Morgan once again tucking in very tight here to the 88 Tech machine, and Lee Holmes, I think he is relying on the number 35 driver to carry him forward as they make their way through turn number 5. And you can see currently inside is Ben Williams there, the Excite Racing driver, going for a nice late move into the corner. To be fair, Adam Morgan giving him the space, but these guys all scrambling for position lap after lap, and I think they're reveling in it. I can definitely tell you the audience are loving it right now. And as they make their way through turn number 6, we can see Ollie Peters on a very tight line there. He's going to lose a lot of momentum as they finally make their way onto the banking of 7, but behind them and staying with them, not just John Burnham in P7, but also a little bit further back, we've got David Whitehouse with a wounded MX-5 that's staying in this, and he's bringing Deegan Fairclough with him as they make their way from 7 and down towards the chicane. But meanwhile, Mikey Doble a further 3.7 seconds back, and we believe there is a lot of damage on that MX-5, particularly with the suspension. But looking back up towards the leaders right now, we can see that battle continues, and once again we will see a side-by-side into the chicane here as they make their way through it. And this time it's going to be Ben Williams who squeezes way through, but he's very high on the apex curve of turn number 10, and that sends the car for a spin due to the bounce there, and that is a disaster for the Englishman as he now gets himself back up to speed. But that is going to be costly. And looking at it back here, where you could see he saw the space on the inside, he went for it, but he unsettled the car on the curb, and as he tried to straight line turn 10, he literally tapped the inside of what was Lee Holmes. And well, of course that will be investigated by the stewards, but the two drivers coming together and only one emerged safe and sound, and that was Lee Holmes, and he is the leader of this race still as they come around to go down towards turn number 1 once again. And Ollie Peters now trying to make his way past the leader, who's literally dug in, built his defences, and there's even more contact, Alex.
Lee Horne trying to get up the inside of Lee Holmes there, and it sends Holmes around, and he just about kept hold of it. How he kept hold of it is beyond me, and you could see straight away Lee Horne regretted it right away. There was a little bit of net code involved, but they somehow got away with that. They're still in 4th and 5th place, and they're not out of this at the moment.
Liam Silkstone's just gone off at turn 3, he's gone wide.
Oh, he has. Yes, he has indeed. And let's get a quick replay of that to see what happened to him. And we'll rejoin with the top 2. It's Ollie Peters versus Fairclough. Oh, and he just outbroke himself. Had to take evasive action, but that cost him a few positions to 10th place. So, meanwhile, back at the front, Deegan Fairclough is out in front, and Ollie Peters in 2nd place. Ollie Peters had rotten luck tonight. I've seen him on one of the group chats I'm in, frustrated with his progress tonight. But tonight, right here, right now in this race, it's a big opportunity for a bit of redemption for him. Deegan Fairclough as well. He's been lacking the race wing since Montreal, race 1. And he could well get it here, but there's a long way to go, and a lot of slipstreaming that could hamper his progress here. At the moment, it's Fairclough from Peters, Holmes in 3rd, Lee Horne leads the Pro-Am category from John Burnham. David Whitehouse is into 6th place now, leading the AM category rather convincingly. Adam Morgan is back down to 7th place, but still 20 places gained in this race. Mikey Doble is up to 8th place in that wounded MX-5. Jamie Dory in 9th, and Silkstone in 10th. Rounding off the top 10, and back into the lead goes Lee Holmes, and Fairclough with that big push coming out of the corner there. And just over a lap ago, we only saw Deegan Fairclough have to back off a lot coming out of the bus stop there due to a slowdown, and he is back up battling with this top spot here, and that is just the nature of these cars on this track.
Oh, indeed, and to be fair as well with that huge incident.
Oh, no!
Goodness me, he's turned Lee Holmes as Deegan Fairclough by looks things with contact on the rear of the car, and as Lee Holmes gets himself back up to speed, surely that is him out of contention for the lead of this race now, as meanwhile the rest of the leaders go on to battle it out with only 5 minutes to go. That's a disaster for Lee Holmes as they made the way through. Just take us through it, Alex.
Just looking at that again, it was you could see Fairclough was just trying to bump draft him, but he got underneath the rear left quarter panel of Lee Holmes there, and that's enough to lift up the suspension and turn the car around. But Holmes will carry on in 10th place. He might still have an opportunity to catch up with this group at the front here, headed by Ollie Peters, and he's still got Fairclough right behind him, and they could bring in other cars in this as well. Don't write off David Whitehouse as well in the Duck Song car. 5th place for him. He is really in an opportunity of contending for the front here. Let's take a look to the front here. It's Peters in the lead right now versus Deegan Fairclough. People watching on this Crest Autosport channel who might be fans of the team, leg jolting just like mine right now, but let's see how he gets on into the final corner of the infield, and we have got approximately 2 laps to go in this race. Onto the bank and we go. It's certainly got to be said, Peters is in the worst position right now to be taken by Fairclough. He'll be able to line up a slipstream and get past. The question is where. He bumps, drafts Ollie Peters along, trying to get him a move on, trying to get themselves away from Lee Horne here. Either that or Fairclough is trying to wait for the best moment, which is coming out of the bus stop where we've seen him make so many moves throughout tonight.
Oh, indeed, and as they make their way down towards the bus stop once again, here you can see just on the right side of your picture, that is the case drivers trying to battle one another, and Burnham trying to come through in P4 versus Lee Horne, but we focus here on the 2 leaders. They both navigate the bus stop and do so very effectively, and it's Lee Horne just watching on as David Whitehouse moves up to P4 past John Burnham, who was out of sorts there at the rear of the camera, but right now 2 leaders coming on through, and of course Ollie Peters at this point will be thinking only a lap ago. There was another driver, Deegan Fairclough, right behind him, and that driver got turned. Not saying Fairclough did it intentionally, but that will be on his mind, as is natural in a racer's mind, as they come across towards what is another lap. Only 2 more laps to go when they cross the timeline this time around. In the battle for P4 behind, we've got 3 wide with Mikey Doble now coming on through as they make their way down towards turn number 1. We see Lee Horne as well trying to get himself in here in the battle for the lead. Mikey Doble and P4 are getting an eye shot there as they make their way through turn number 1. You can see everybody going deep now, and that is the tyre wearing, the brake fade kicking in, everyone carrying as much pace as they possibly can through these corners on cars which haven't got the grip anymore, and Fairclough takes the lead from Ollie Peters up the inside into turn 3, getting it just about right, as we've got there John Burnham going deep into the hairpin, and that's a disaster for Burnham, as it looks as though David Whitehouse involved in that.
Oh yeah, a bit of an outbreak of Burnham there, and he takes round David Whitehouse, and that ruins any chance of David Whitehouse trying to contend for the top spot in this race. But miraculously, Whitehouse remains first place in his category still, so it's not out the window for him just yet. Meanwhile, at the front, yet again, Fairclough leads from Peters. Mikey Doble joins the battle here. Jamie Dory has been following Mikey Doble through this race. Him and Mikey Doble working together, it seems, to get themselves to the front here. It's worked. They're in the top 5 and they're contending for this race. We've got this lap here, and then we'll have one more lap after this one. We'll see the white flag at the end of this lap. It could go to anyone at this point. Fairclough has definitely been the one consistently in the top spot here. Ollie Peters, credit to him, has been patient for the early part of this race, and now he's involved with these big names in this series, Doble and Fairclough, to try and take the win here. Doble peers out to try and break the slipstream and slow down the car a little bit prior to the corner, prior to braking into the corner, to make it a little easier to slow down and find his braking point. Coming out of the corner here, Peters is some distance off of Fairclough, but he'll be able to reel it back in as we head round the banking here. Will Peters go for his signature move round the outside? But he's got to be careful with Doble here. Doble might go for the inside and cover him off. Let's see how we get on. Peters has got a big run here. To the outside he goes. Fairclough is going to cover the inside. He sticks it onto the apron ever so slightly to shorten the track a little bit. Peters leads us as we see the white flag here. 1 minute to go in the race here as Peters peers off to the outside to take that wider line. And to the outside here also is Jamie Dory. He's gone round the outside of Fairclough, and can he hang on to it? He's alongside him coming out of turn 1 here. Side by side between the two of them, and the inside will be taken out by Jamie Dory as we head into the International Horseshoe. Peters leads the race at the moment, and Dory is on the inside here. Second place could be his. A good exit from this corner is what he needs, but Fairclough has had a good exit on the outside there. Much quicker on the acceleration there, and he has managed to get him back ahead, and in fact has got him a good run on Ollie Peters here. Peters will need to cover the inside here because Fairclough will take to the inside, which he does. Late on the brakes, Peters is very late also on the brakes, and he covers him off. Jamie Dory is trying to take to the outside as well of Deegan Fairclough, and he can't quite make it. Here we go, this is the end of the infield section. It's all down to slipstreaming now. Jamie Dory to the inside of Deegan Fairclough, and he is going to have to force himself wide, is Deegan. Ollie Peters also going wide to try and get as much acceleration as he can out the corner. Onto the bank and we go. There is only one real corner left on this track. The rest of it is flat out. Here we go. Fairclough on the outside of Jamie Dory. Jamie Dory is a race winner already this season, as is Fairclough, as is Doble. But Ollie Peters isn't. Ollie Peters is not in the best of spots right now. He has got to guard from these drivers. Jamie Dory is going to take to the inside. Will he go for a move going into the bus stop? Who wants to be ahead of all of these going into the final stretch here? No one wants to, but Ollie Peters volunteers. Through he goes on the bus stop there. But he might well be a sitting duck now, as the drivers are going to be peering on around him. He takes to the outside, kind of like what we saw from Adam Delmont earlier on. Fairclough goes low. Into the lead he goes. Ollie Peters is going to dummy it. He's going to try and take it to the bottom now and get a slipstream for the final part of this race. Fairclough leads it. Jamie Dory is going to take the outside. Ollie Peters has got a good run here. It could be a photo finish to the end here. Peters, can he get into the middle? Yes, he can. Who's going to be the first to the line? Across the line we go. Ollie Peters has got his nose ahead. He takes the win in this third race. A brilliant finish for him, and a brilliant photo finish from Mikey Doble and Jamie Dory. Fairclough couldn't get it onto the podium in the end. 5th place overall for him, even though he led coming out of the bus stop. What a finish to that race. And I think it was it Ollie Peters who took it in the end? It might have actually been Jamie Dory. It looked like it was Ollie Peters when it came across the line.
I think it was Ollie Peters. I think that might be a glitch in our time screens, and once the race concludes, we will get to see it. But I definitely would say, Alex, your eyes do not deceive you. Ollie Peters was the one ahead when they crossed that timing line.
Yeah, we'll take a replay of it just to see, but I'm positive that Ollie Peters crossed the line. He celebrates with donuts on the infield here, and the fireworks going off in the background there. Us at Crest Autosport TV celebrating a little bit here. We're not biased at all. We're not biased at all. But yeah, what a race we saw again there. It was a stroke of genius if he did in fact get the win there from Ollie Peters to take it to the outside of the bank and let Deegan Fairclough through and use the slipstream on the final stretch there, almost NASCAR-esque, to take the win there. But Fairclough gambling with trying to get it through and keep it to the inside and keep his foot flat to the floor, and it didn't quite pay off for him. It dropped to 5th place in the end, Paul.
Indeed, I think Deegan Fairclough just went a little bit too soon with regards to that, and Ollie Peters and also Jamie Dory, both of them playing it smart and staying up high. Jamie Dory being the first of the two of them to really run out of that patience and think they needed to come down and then look for the move for the win. But in the end, it was Ollie Peters. But let's not also rule out Mikey Doble, who literally came from the back of that pack and came charging up to P2 literally as they crossed the line. Of course, we'll see that when the official results are confirmed. But a very, very tactical end to the race. And really, as they started this race and all the way through, we saw those back and forth swaps of position and the slipstream tactics being used, and it all came to fruition in the end. And it means that we have had 3 different winners in 3 different races. Oh,
fantastic. That's what we love to see in the NXTGEN Racing MX5 Cup here. But we'll take a quick replay up that final battle for the line. And let's just get a quick look at it. So from the bus stop, we're going to try and go from. Let's see if we can get it. Let's take a look from back here. Let's see how far back we can go with this replay here, if it lets us go to this replay. Okay, so let's switch to... this might be from more than a lap ago, actually. So we'll take another shot at the replay here. Okay, I've got issues with my timing screen as well here. But we'll take a look at this final lap here. This is Ollie Peters leading from Deegan Fairclough on the final lap here. Deegan Fairclough comes across here, and he was considering a move here at this point. But just talk us through up to the bus stop, Paul, of what the goings on here between all these drivers.
Well, you can see Ollie Peters really having to control the pace of this hunt for the win on the final lap. He parked it nicely on the apex then. You can see Deegan Fairclough in the end having to wonder whether Jamie Dory was going to stay up the inside, but Dory backed out and then looked to the move up the inside here into turn number 6. But watch how this changes the complexion as they go up onto turn 7 banking, because you can see Fairclough decides to tuck in high behind Ollie Peters, but Peters immediately came down. And the reason for that is he was trying to give an equal amount of slipstream to both drivers. And you can see Fairclough comes down, but he finds Dory on his inside there on the lower portion of the banking, and as a result this gave Dory the opportunity to get nice and tight up behind. He gives the bump draft there, and immediately Peters then pulls over to the right to the natural racing line. This then brings Fairclough back up to speed, and it means when they go into the bus stop chicane they're going side by side through, but Ollie Peters doesn't lose the lead, which is what he wanted here to make that masterclass strategy work. And as they came through the bus stop, this is where Peters made the key moment, which was to move to the right and stay as high as possible and let Deegan Fairclough go early. You can see Jamie Dory also knows it, but look at the bottom of your picture as well. Look at Mikey Doble, don't forget him, but we focus on Lee Peters in particular. Jamie Dory comes down thinking that Fairclough's got the advantage, and Dory then pulls out to carry the momentum, but Ollie Peters picks up the double toe, then he takes the single toe for Jamie Dory, and with that momentum Jamie Dory goes high, Ollie Peters pulls between the two of them, and then look at Doble who comes in here. Doble with a tap off the back of a Lee Horne as they come across that timeline. Literally, well, I think it was Dory in fact who may have got P2 there. It's so difficult to tell, but Ollie Peters timed that to perfection. Dory just went a little bit too soon, and Mikey Doble with some assistance from Lee Horne was brought up right at the end there. There was a lot of 4D chest, as we like to call it in the modern slang, if you will, or at least the youngsters I know call it that way, but it is the case. A lot of tactical thinking there employed by our drivers, and a fantastic way to finish. You can see Ollie Peters, he knew as soon as he crossed that line by doing the donuts there and then making his way a little bit further down to get out of the way of drivers coming through to complete their race.
Exactly. And in fact, right on cue, we're going to pull in our race 3 winner. Granted, our timing screen's a little bit off at the moment, but I'm seeing Ollie Peters celebrate in other areas on Facebook, etc. But Ollie Peters, finally, a race winner again, but for the first time in this MX-5 series, and you did it in great fashion as well. Just talk us through how you're feeling and what your thoughts were going through that final part of the race.
Oh my God, Alex. I just had like the worst night, and this third race I was like, I have to win this. I'm just so frustrated with how the first 2 races went. I knew what my plan was. I knew where I had to be. I did have to kind of like improvise it a bit. I didn't really want to be first coming out of the bus stop, but I knew that if I ran the high line, let the first 2 drivers through, and just got a nice slipstream, which luckily I did, I could win it. I just knew I could do it.
Excellent stuff. And you kept everything relatively quiet at the early part of the race there. Was that part of the plan, and just plan your attack later on in the race?
It's a bit of 50-50. I wanted to be at the front. I knew I was definitely in danger of having an accident, like just the way that my night has been and previous nights. I just knew I had to be careful. So yeah, it was like a bit of a plan just to keep it calm, stay at the back, but I was probably a bit further back than I wanted to be at a few points. But yeah, it all just fell into my hands nicely.
Exactly. How does this tee up for the rest of the season now? Momentum carrying forward. We've got Bathurst coming up next week, a very, very tricky track. But how does this take you forward for the rest of the season?
Well, Bathurst is a tricky track for me. It's a bit hit and miss. I can either have a really good result or a really bad one, but you know that's most people will say that. I'll do what I can. I plan to be strong, just like I do every week, but we'll just have to see how I get on.
Great stuff. And lastly, before we let you go, we're just watching the end of the race again here. But before you go away, anybody want to give a shout out to sponsors, family, friends, fans, etc.?
I think I'll give a shout out to my girlfriend, who had to put up with me shouting and swearing all night, and then had to listen to me screaming as I won the race.
It's Amy, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Yep. Amy, you can rest easy now. Ollie's in a good mood.
Oh yes, I am.
Well, Ollie, race 3 winner. well done, very well done indeed, with
Very much.
a
Thank
stroke
you.
of genius at the end there. We'll see you next time at Bathurst.
Thank you.
Wow, what an end! Let's just watch that again, Paul, and ladies and gentlemen. Just a superb end to this race. Not only Ollie Peters timing it to perfection and just creating a masterstroke, but also Mikey Doble getting himself into the top step of the podium, pushed along almost, I think it was by Lee Horne, who, by the way, also got the Pro-Am category win, which will help his championship no end at all. Absolutely brilliant from him. But a lot of drivers there really did pull it off at the end there, didn't they?
They did, and I think it really was the case that what we've seen time and time again today, and race 3 really the demonstration of it. We saw the difference between drivers who had the patience and were willing to sacrifice, having that advantage, having a disadvantage at the start of the race. They didn't want to be right up there and really stayed back and watched as everything played out and protected the car, protected themselves, and then got involved and went for the win right at the end. And we saw that time and time again, and well, it has played out considerably and very rewardingly for a number of drivers. And Ollie Peters, Mikey Doble, Lee Horne there in race number 3, all 3 of them being rewarded admirably for their patience.
Absolutely, and speaking of being rewarded, we're going to bring in our race 1 winner, but also getting himself onto the podium in the final moments of that race there. But it didn't start so well, did it, Mikey? A spin at the start there, which we just witnessed. Not your fault at all, of course. But yeah, a dramatic start to the race then. We thought it was all over for you, but a tremendous comeback to get it on the podium there.
At the start of the race, my only ambition was to not get taken out at the first corner, and I got taken out at the first corner, and I thought that it was all over then. I mean, the leaders must have been 25 seconds ahead of me, but luckily I had some friends who had also had bad starts, and we just put down absolute qualifying laps just to try and catch the build up, nicking a slipstream of anyone we could. And slowly, about halfway through, I thought, oh, actually, we could get a sniff of the draft here on the back of the lead pack. And as soon as we got in that pack, it would race on.
Yeah, it's we definitely noticed you were working together with Jamie Dory most of all, and just talk through little bits in that race where you gain one position at a time here and there. We didn't really get a chance to see you and Jamie working together a lot of the time, but was it Jamie pushing you along? Was it you pushing him along? A bit of both? What was the master plan really?
Well, I mean, we weren't really pushing each other along, but the field of cars in front of us were quite evenly spaced out, at kind of 3 or 4 car lengths between each car, which was making the lap times really quick in the mid-pack because no one was going side by side or battling, slowing each other down, whereas the front guys were obviously swapping positions. So every time I overtook a car, I pretty much tried to do it in the quickest way possible without slowing myself down and kind of open up a hole for Jamie to follow me through. And yeah, just every time I overtook a car, they sort of tucked in behind us, and everyone was pretty courteous in not sort of slowing ourselves down, which is the right thing to do in this type of racing. And then I thought it was all over with about 10 minutes to go, and then a couple of people got some slowdowns ahead of us, which kind of brought us into the draft a little bit more. And then I couldn't believe my luck. It was probably one of the best races I've ever had on iRacing, because at the beginning I was looking across the infield and the leaders were going the other way.
Well, yeah, pretty much, yeah. It all came together for you, and on the final lap, you were rewarded with the podium. Talk us through, what was your plan on the final lap there, or what was going through your head on that final stretch to the line?
Well, in race 1, I tried to replicate the same move I did in race 1 by hanging back a little bit on the last lap to get the slipstream where it matters, just before the line. And I had Lee behind me. I wasn't sure if he was going to stick behind me or actually push me. But I was kicking myself a little bit because I went high on the banking through the last corner, trying to time it right. But I think I left it just slightly too late, because I think if we'd have stayed pinned to the inside of the racetrack, we might have been able to get alongside them a bit sooner and maybe get first and second, me and Lee. But I'll take third from last after the first corner.
Definitely you will. But yeah, this is good for the championship as well. So some very good results tonight. Bathurst next week. So how's how are you going to take this forward now into the next couple of rounds? We're approaching the halfway point of the season. What's your plan of approach for next week and onwards?
The plan really is to, all I can control is to do a good qualifying and win race one. I mean, race one is the purest race of the night. It's you win race one on pace and racecraft without the reverse grids, and then you can just bank as many points as you can in race one, and then keep your fingers crossed that you get lucky in race 2 and 3, because there is an element of luck when you've got the reverse grids and avoiding accidents. And at Bathurst, I mean, if there's a crash up the top section and it funnels in, I mean, it could potentially be a roadblock and there could be no way past. So it's just going to be, you've got to write off those races and just try and take what you can, hoover up the points.
Anybody, before we let you go, Mikey, anybody you want to give a shout out to? Sponsors, family, friends, fans, etc. We ask you this every week, I know.
I know, I'm trying to think of someone new. I haven't got many fans, to be fair. But yeah, the family sitting downstairs watching it on the telly. Grandparents at home that are watching it, no doubt. Get some WhatsApps from them after. And thanks again to you guys for a great stream once again.
No problem at all. No problem at all.
Problem.
All right, Mikey, thank you very much. We'll see you next time at Bathurst.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
There we go. That was Mikey Doble, our race one winner and a podium finisher for our third race of the night. Take your pick, Paul. Who would you like to interview next?
I would be very keen to hear from Lee Horne if he's available. I think Lee Horne was a little bit of a silent but deadly driver throughout all 3 races, and I think Simon would be very interested to hear the insights from the Pro-Am driver.
Absolutely. Let's bring in Lee Horne. Hopefully he's not in mid-conversation with anyone, but we're pulling him in anyway. Lee Horne, a race winner in the Pro-Am category in race 3. How was it?
Oh my god, that was one of the most entertaining and enjoyable and thrilling and tense and nervous, amazing races I've ever had. To be mixing it up with the pros there, and to be so clean. Not that that's a surprise, it isn't, but what I mean is we were so close all the time. You probably saw the incident with me and Lee. We got so squirmy and so tight in that first corner, and I'm so pleased he kept it out the pit wall there. To continue, because we were battling so hard, and I just didn't know whether to keep at it, because I know they're not in my class, but I was just loving the fact that I was just in amongst them all, and I was like, well, you know, we're all being pretty respectful right from the start, so let's just carry on keeping with it and keeping stuck in. And wow, I feel so elated, because it was just so enjoyable. You know, if that was further down the pack, we had the same sort of race, I'd be just as elated. You know, I mean, the fact at the end there, I sort of helped Mikey over the line. I feel for Deegan, because he was battling at the front there for so long, and I thought, well, I'm not going to get past and gain much unless I just go with Mikey. So I just literally sat and pushed in and I straight across the line, and I gained an extra place, and Mikey gained 2. So it was, yeah, that was fantastic.
Well, that's brilliant to hear, Lee. And well, throughout all the racing over the course of tonight, one thing we saw time and time again from yourself was this ability to balance, knowing when to go on the offensive and when just to stay back and essentially watch not the carnage necessarily, but the battling unfold. How do you balance it? What gives you that sort of gauge when you're making around on such a slipstream-dominated circuit? What sort of in your mind says, right, now's the time to go, now's the time to wait, and when do you sort of get in between?
Well, it's difficult. You sort of do it at the spur of the moment, because you're assessing whether the car in front's got a good line out of a corner or not. You know, whether you're coming up to obviously one of the long sections where, you know, if you're just a certain amount back, you can get such a tremendous run and then clearly go by. Whereas if you're too close, you're going to pull out, you lose the draft, and you don't really get by, and then you end up battling, and then you just lose speed. So you've got to sort of just use a little bit of racing common sense, so to speak, and pick those moments. Through assessing, you know, where you are on the track and the sort of pace that you're carrying through at the time. But yeah, you've certainly got to be on your mind thinking toes to get on with it.
Oh, most definitely. Indeed, a very tricky and doing a lot of essentially assessments and calculations as you go. And when we say as you go, we now make our way to Australia in a week's time for Mount Panorama Raceway, Bathurst. A very different circuit, of course, 2 very long straights, one up the mountain, one down the mountain, and overtaking coming at a premium over the course of the mountain. How are you feeling for going to land down under?
Well, after tonight's race 3, because I don't really want to talk about 1 and 2 because they were rubbish for me, weren't they? Let's be honest. But after race 3, I'm proper buzzing. I mean, to have another track with 2 very long straights, similar in that it's going to be a bit of a slipstream fest in those areas, but to then have the tightness across the top of the mountain, I think it will be really good. If we can, if some of the guys, I hear there's a little bit of a few contentious driver issues towards the back where people just need to sort themselves out a little bit. But aside from that, if people can keep their respectful heads on and fight firm like we did at the front here in race 3, I think it will be really, really good. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to next week.
Oh, well, that's brilliant to hear. And just before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give it a shout out to?
Well, as usual, everyone, you always put us guys on the spot and say, who do you want to thank? Well, you always obviously want to thank your sponsors and you guys. And I've never thanked my mum and my dad and my wife. So, yeah, thanks to anyone that wants to take some thanks from me.
Well, it's brilliant to hear from you, Lee, and thank you for joining us in the interview room, and congratulations on the results tonight, particularly in race number 3, and we look forward to seeing what you can achieve in Australia in a week's time.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Yeah, a brilliant night for Lee Horne indeed. Race 1 a pretty good performance, and race 3 even better, and that will certainly solidify his Pro-Am Championship lead, won't it, Paul?
Oh, most definitely. Lee has been a very consistent performer in the Pro-Am Championship, and I think really tonight has shown, even though he had the disastrous race 1 and race number 2, it was never going to phase him that hard to put him away from getting a good result in race number 3. And in the end, when you bring it home with that finish and the win of the Pro-Am class in race number 3, I reckon really the Briton is the man to beat going into the end of the first half of the season in a week's time.
Yes, certainly. Right, we've got a few people in the interview waiting room. We'll get one more. It's between David Whitehouse and Jamie Dory. I think we should pick on David Whitehouse here, if you don't mind, Paul, because he did take the win in category in that final race there. You reckon?
Indeed, and it'd be good to hear from the AM driver who saw quite a different field from the battles up front.
Absolutely. So we are going to pull in Dave Whitehouse again. Hope you're not in the middle of a conversation with someone. We're pulling you in anyway. Dave, 8th place in the third race there. Considering it was quite a relatively quiet night until then, race 3, it all came alive, didn't it?
It did. I was a little disappointed on the night as a whole. Got taken out at hairpin 1 a few times, but that's, I suppose, just the way it goes. And only a couple of amateurs doing the whole night obviously made it a little bit easier, but yeah, it was like you say, a quiet night and then a good race at the end. Thought I might have been that first amateur in the top 3 of the result until right near the very end.
So in race 3 there, you were just getting edging your way to the top of the field, closer and closer and closer. You got yourself to around about 5th place, I think it was, and then there's a little bit of an incident between yourself and John Burnham, I think it was, but you're still in the lead of the AM category. I don't know if you guys sort of know who you're battling with in category on track, so what was sort of going through your mind at that moment? Did you think it all been thrown away, or were you rest assured?
Rest assured, really, in amateurs, because I'd worked out by then Tom Delaney wasn't here, Mark Harris-Smith was 4th in the championship, I was ahead of Paul Scott, who was 2nd, so that's the most important thing at the moment. And like I was saying to a few of the guys in the 2nd race, there's no point in me catching the guy in front, because actually I'm going to end up further up the grid, further back on the 3rd grid, but I'm not going to gain anything by passing them. So that's why at the end of the other race I actually let Lee and Ollie through to gain a couple of positions on the grid without affecting my overall score.
Great stuff indeed. So you're well in control. Well, you're in the leads definitely of the AM category, and you're pulling away, edging away round by round. Bathurst next week, which is a relatively tricky track, and it will see us out for the first half of the season. What's the plan of action for this next round onward?
I think with Bathurst, it's just see how it goes race by race, because it's not somewhere where you can try and get out the way if something happens over the mountain. You are stuck, whatever happens. The rest of the season, obviously we've got a few more circuits you can sort of avoid things, so you can try and position yourself correctly. But I think Bathurst will just be a little bit of a lottery in terms of trying to get up over hill, whether you're ahead of an incident or behind one. So I think I'll just take it each race as it comes for now, and then see where I am after Bathurst.
Great stuff, great stuff. Anybody, before you shoot off, anybody you want to give a shout out to, sponsors, family, friends, fans?
Got to say thank you to you two for running the show as always on the stream. You know, great stream as always. I'd like to advertise my Motorsport Magpie page, which is a new thing on YouTube. Go have a check out of that, and also my wife for the support she's given me with my mental health recently. So that's definitely a shout out needed.
Excellent stuff, Dave. Yeah, glad you're enjoying the races. Racing is an outlet from the struggles of life. Just remember that. That's why we all do it. But yeah, Dave, thanks very much for tonight. We'll see you next time at Bathurst.
Yeah, see you soon. Thanks.
Great stuff there. So I believe that is all we have got time for. But Paul, a little bit of a round off of tonight.
Well, tonight has been all about the strategic slipstream. Whether you've been up the front or in the midfield, it's all about timing it right to make the pass, using that toe on the bank corners and on the back straight. And we have seen many a driver come a cropper with regards to being up front at the wrong time. And really at the end, we saw Ollie Peters, who we can see on camera right now, on that master stroke right at the end of 9, when to time it right to pick up the win in race number 3. A number of instances as well, a number of elbows coming out, and I think some drivers have been heavily bruised by it, but it is the case now. We have to look a week onwards to Bathurst. A very different circuit lies ahead, and really Daytona has been a bit of fly in the ointment compared to the other circuits we've seen in the first half of the season so far, with slipstreams being such a huge factor here. And it's almost been like NASCAR, albeit with MX-5s rather than big American muscle machines. But I'm sure there's plenty of racing ahead at Bathurst. Indeed, our drivers will be going to the Australian circuit feeling very, very eager to go racing once more.
Yes, absolutely. Heading down under for the next round of the championship. To see us out for the first half of the season, a very tricky track indeed, and hopefully no kangaroos will interfere with the racing and bring out a full course caution or red flag. We'll see, we'll see. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching tonight's action. It has been thoroughly endurable watching this racing tonight. I've been Alex Everett on behalf of Crest Autosport, and alongside me is Paul Walsh. Thank you for watching, whether it's been on Crest Autosport TV on Twitch or YouTube, or NXTGEN Racing on Facebook. Please do give the channels a like, follow, share or subscribe. It does help us to put on these great broadcasts, to keep providing the entertainment to you guys. But for now, it's over and out from myself and Paul. We'll see you in 1 week's time in Bathurst. Thank you for watching.